We're going. I like the aggression. Dude, let me drop the great bar. You can go tell all those guys up there they can suck in.
What we're about to do is not a good idea.
All good. What is he doing? You've got to be kidding me.
Half the pack is flying apart.
They're so nice to see at the line.
Oh, pack of cars come piling in as well.
Jump. Come in the line.
Here low, come back on him.
That was incredible.
Dude, nobody better. Nobody. Hell yeah, guys.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of NWP, this time on my channel. And I love it. I had it up at 7, and somehow people still thought it was late. It's amazing. I don't know what to do anymore. But it is not just me here today. As always, joined by our co-hosts, Danny B Talks, Danny Baldwin, aka host of Danny B Talks, and Eric Estep, host of Out of the Groove. There's Eric. Yeah. All right. Well, guys,
it's doing that weird thing for me where I see Jarrett, but Eric is just a spinny wheel. But yeah, I see him on YouTube, so I don't know what's up with this.
You spin me right around.
The spinning wheel is probably more handsome. I got a haircut today, and there's a reason I'm wearing thick headphones and a giant hat instead. I'm not a fan of it. A little too short for my comfort. But
and I write down the note now to ask to see it after the show.
I mean, look, it's not terrible. I did, you know what I mean? Like I obviously wake up every morning, you know how everyone, you look at yourself in the mirror, you know your face more than you know anyone else's face. And then in my case, I edit myself for 3 hours a day as well. So I'm looking at my face a ton, not to sound narcissistic, but I have learned my facial features down to the millimeter. And so when my hair is a slight bit shorter than I would prefer, it's like it bothers me. It's like my what OCD I do have is on high alert. So it's not, okay. I don't want to hype it up. It's just short. It's just a little short. It looks basically the same as ever. But yeah. Anyway, so I'm wearing the hat. Also, it's NFL schedule release day. So I saw Jared jump to the call with his Vikings hat, so I had to represent my hometown team as well.
I'm wearing blue for the Titans. That's about all the support they're getting from me at the moment until we pick it up. I'm actually literally just looking through our schedule, and I'm seeing a few games that stand out. Titans did not get a single prime time game at all. We got some 3:00 games.
Not even with a first overall pick.
Not one prime time game for the Titans. We got last year. It felt like we were always at noon, but we at least got some 3:00 games.
When do the Texans play the Titans? When are their two matchups?
We're finding out when these two won't talk to each other for a week.
Let's see.
They'll talk adjacent to each other during the show.
Week 4, the Titans will be at Houston, and then week 11, November 16th, Texans will be in Tennessee. So you coming out in November?
Maybe I'll make a birthday trip. That's my birthday weekend, or right before the birthday weekend. Maybe I'll make a trip out to Nashville. We can hit Broadway, the three of us, and then, paper bags and all can go see a game at Nissan Stadium.
And that, by the way, us talking about this, unless I blew everybody's ears out with that, just gave me a chance to actually fix my mic, because I realized that last second when it went live, I noticed something on the bottom said it changed.
It was echoey, yeah. Good catch.
It went to my camera microphone. So.
That was pretty good for a webcam microphone, though, Frank, to be honest.
They're like, I hear it's like you're talking inside a submarine. Well, yeah, probably. All right, though. Let's get into the NASCAR side of things. It was good to kind of get the opening 4 minutes and 20 seconds talking about football a little bit. And we don't have to talk about it again till August. But we were in Kansas, which is a football town as well, definitely at this point. And
America's team.
I wonder how that's going to go over in the Estep household after. I don't know. That's going to be interesting to hear what Mrs. Estep has to say about that. I guess, you got to win playoff.
I think she would agree, man. I think she's tired of the Cowboys hype. She's like, let us lay low and maybe overachieve for a couple of years. And I agree, Cito. Kansas, the best nickname in stock car racing.
There is no laying low for Cowboys. That's not a real thing.
But somebody else who hasn't laid low is definitely Kyle Larson. He he definitely laid into the field belt to ass for the most part, at least numbers wise on
He
it.
was hanging out with the Kansas City Chiefs at the beginning of the weekend. Not to keep making this about football, but
I mean, maybe that was it. Maybe it's like, maybe he ate some of Andy Reid's KFC and that's what helped him out. But it was absolute domination, at least statistically it was. There's a little talk, and I think we can talk about this in a moment, but was he really that dominant, or was it just he was good at not screwing up?
yeah, I think Kyle Larson had one of the best cars, no doubt. But this was a day where all of his toughest competition effectively stepped on rakes or couldn't get out of their own way. Whether it was William Byron's team pushing the air pressures too aggressive, blowing a tire. Same happened to Brad Keselowski later after he passed Kyle Larson on the racetrack. Chase Elliott's pit crew got him the lead, but then cost him towards the end. Denny Hamlin with mechanical issues for the second week in a row. I could go on and on. Those are 3 or 4 drivers right there that I think had real speed to contend with Larson, but took themselves out one way or another. Drivers like Alex Bowman, also out of the Hendrick camp, finished 5th. Imagine how fast he would have been if he didn't get fenced on that one restart and have right front damage. So Kyle Larson was great. They executed flawlessly, led over 220 laps, I believe. But were they the dominant car? On paper, yes, but the eye test says no. There were a lot of other drivers that were in contention.
Yeah, I mean, he had 221 of 267 laps, and I just looked it up. That is more laps led than 7 drivers' laps ran in this race, which is kind of crazy to say. With it being a Kansas race, generally you don't have as much of the high-end attrition, but that was a big part of it too. And I don't think it's a takeaway either from Larson, though. Like that, him and that 5 team, Hendrick Motorsports, all of them in general. I mean, it's just you can't screw up around them, because then Garrick, you kind of like you asserted this week, and it kind of went all over social media. Larson doesn't have down weeks or like slumps. He just crashes out running for the win. He is checkers or wreckers.
Yeah, he'll have a bad race. He'll have maybe even 2 bad races, but he has the shortest memory in stock car racing, is what I said, because it's like, you look at Darlington, he embarrassed himself earlier this year at Darlington, crashed 4 laps in that beautiful Terry Labonte scheme. Yeah, that could drag a guy down. Bad qualifying draw for the next race. That could turn into 2 or 3 bad races. Nope. He dominated Bristol the very next week, led 400 laps. Like, he just, something bad happens. Indy 500 crashes in testing. He's back out there this week like nothing happened. Like, he has such a short memory. He's able to compartmentalize things better than most. We see drivers all the time have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 bad races, bad weeks in a row. That doesn't ever seem to happen with Kyle Larson. And I think a lot of that is also Cliff Daniels and Hendrick Motorsports. They have things buttoned up better than most. So, like, for example, last year Larson had that loose wheel at Coda, and this year he has a new pit crew. Like they basically said, okay, that one mistake was too many, and we're making a big change, a big swing early this season. I just think it's a whole team thing. They don't have more than like 1 bad race in a row.
It's funny, I'm looking at the NASCAR schedule, and I like it on the computer because it shows you like the driver, their photo, the number, the name, etc. of who won. And if you scroll down through here, the most consistent things on here was the 3 weeks in a row where Christopher Bell won, but after that he's been up in the front, but not necessarily like looking like he's going to get the win since then. But Kyle Larson, the most consistent. He has a win per month outside of February, which is arguably our quickest and most like inconsistent month of the year, I would argue, because it's nothing but super speedways in the Clash. So he has a win a month right now, so that's a good pace right now for Kyle Larson. The next most consistent person I see on here, it'd be Denny Hamlin and technically Austin Cindric, if you go back to him winning the Duel 2 at Daytona.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about competitiveness, and I think we kind of stick in the Hendrick tree on this one. Chase Elliott looked legit. And that the big talking point all year has been like, where is Chase? What is wrong with the 9 team? The last year and a half, 2 years, whatever it's been, Chase Elliott and the 9 team have just been MIA. They've been slow. They've been 8th to 13th, basically. And I honestly thought when he got out front, I was like, oh my God, he's got the clean air. He's got the I would argue at the time, the best car. He's got control of this race. And then the pit crew came in.
Yeah, no, he had the best long run car for sure. We saw, I think at the end of stage 2, we saw it a little at the end of stage 1. He got close to Larson, ate into his lead, but at the end of stage 2, he was literally on Larson's bumper. Like Larson had to throw a block out of 4 to ensure Elliott didn't get next to him. So he had the best long run car, and it's very difficult to make passes in clean air on fresh tires. So when Elliott got that track position on pit road, I was like, whoa, especially when he held Larson off on the restart, because the restarts were tough. He holds Larson off, clears him. Then Brad cleared Larson. And Brad definitely, I was like, oh gosh, is this Keselowski's day after the year he's had? But Keselowski, I saw him as more of a paper tiger. Like, I'll believe they are truly dominant when I see it more than for one stage. So I was like, damn, Elliott's in the catbird seat. And to your point, the only other race this year, 2 races, I guess, where I would argue Chase Elliott maybe had winning speed like this were 2 short tracks. It was Bowman Gray, where he obviously won, and Martinsville, where I think he finished 4th, but led 30 or 40 laps. Other than those 2 races, Chase Elliott has not even shown top 5 speed, frankly. And Kansas is nothing like Martinsville or Bowman Gray. So it's one race. I know he ends up 15th, which is a bummer, but I viewed this as a very encouraging sign for Chase Elliott fans, that he's not just a one-trick pony. Like, I was over here like, okay, well, when's Richmond? Oh, shoot, Bristol night race is what I was already waiting for the next short track. No, okay. He could be a contender in the 600 in 2 weeks. Obviously Wilkesboro is a short track this weekend, but in the 600, watch out for Chase Elliott after what we saw at Kansas.
Yeah. I mean, at that token too, I mean, Nashville is not that different. I mean, it's like, it's concrete, but
there's
it's
a lot of Michigan's coming up, eventually Pocono. I don't know when that is, but like, there's a lot of intermediates coming up.
Really?
Yeah. Cause
Hendrick as a whole, I'm looking at the standings again. Hendrick as a whole is in a good place. Of course, Alex Bowman is going to be shipped off, and we're going to put Raj in the car next year. Everyone knows that, as Twitter has been saying forever. But he's in 8th place right now. 8th place in the standings. Really, the only thing that's keeping him from being, because you got Larson is first, and this is just what it says on the NASCAR website in terms of driver standings. That's Larson first, Byron second, Elliott 4th, Bowman 8th. Really, Bowman could probably be right up around his teammates if it wasn't for this pesky 2 DNFs that's holding him back a lot.
Yeah, Chase Elliott, what was my prediction last week? He'll go 20 weeks with 20 straight top 20s. He's up to 12 straight top 20s to start there. Very consistent.
Yeah. I mean, just like last year. The thing is, like, Chase Elliott, I think would excel so much more in like a pre-2014 NASCAR. In the NASCAR that you can kind of just 6th to 8th your way through a lot of the season, and like kind of towards the end, you know, if those 10 tracks line up good for you, kind of Jimmy Johnson it a bit, because Jimmy was always like that, where he would win a couple races though. But he would always have that consistency, or he'd just pop up towards the end in the top 10 or 15 or whatever it might be. Because it's like, he hasn't been as bad as so many people have said. It's just when you have 2 teammates that are winning all the time, and another teammate now who's getting top 5 speed almost every week, and then you're puttering around there in 9th at best. Weeks like this are the ones that as a Chase Elliott fan, I have to imagine you're just squirming over. Like, the 1 week that we have the best Hendrick car, the best possible car in the field, you know, and you can argue a couple others, the 1 week, and the crew screws it up. And then Chase he had some terrible restarts too. I mean, like, those 2 restarts, I think he fell back. Like, he restarted one of them like 8th or 9th, and then he fell back to like 15th or so. And at one point he was almost outside the top 20. And it's like, you just can't do that with the way that the dirty air in these cars is.
And
they had a go ahead, Danny.
I was gonna say, the funny thing is about Chase Elliott, we feel like his pit crew is holding him back. The race he won this year didn't need his pit crew.
That's a
fair
good point.
And that day, I think it's the same way this weekend. He may not need it. He may not need him he could win this weekend.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. I was gonna say, Jared, to your point, yeah, he did struggle on those restarts. Some of that was he was thrown into dirty air for the first time all day, but another part was that was clearly a long run car. That was their strength, and so it's just double whammy after the penalty. Speaking of whammies, though, can we talk about Brad Keselowski? And I know his teammates got top 10s. It's been a rough few weeks for RFK Racing between the disqualifications, the DNFs. Brad's still outside the top 30 in points. But what was going through your heads when Keselowski blew a tire running second.
Why is Fox not talking right now?
Yeah, that's fair. I was definitely like, I think I was in the catch like, oh, there goes Brad. There, I was like, there he.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
okay. Something I was like, wait a minute. I was like, is this like a replay from practice or something that I missed? Whatever. Why are we not talking? What?
Not
Yeah.
to get us a copyright claim, but it's just like, hello, darkness, my old friend.
I just, that moment, I was like, I was sitting watching it, and like I was writing something down, like taking a note on something going on, and I looked up and I saw it happen. I'm like, wait, is that? Well, they're not talking about it. Wait a minute, that's not a replay. That hasn't happened. The 1 week that they actually find some real speed in that car, it's just the season from hell. I mean, there's no other way to put it at this point. It's just the season from hell. I wonder if I have it on me. Yes, I have basically like his last 120 starts statistics put up. I did a video earlier this week on
Is
it.
that his whole Roush tenure?
Yep.
Okay.
And the whole next gen era.
Oh, yep.
And I mean, this year, like that, remember how awful he was in 2022? And we're like, damn, like he's really bad, right? Would you? He was 8 positions higher in average finish that season.
Wow. What's his average finish this year? Did you write that down?
27.2
Oh,
out of roughly 36 to 30. Like I made this point in my video. All right. This is not the era of 43 car fields where 27th gets you ahead of 15, 16 cars roughly.
Yeah.
He is not a mid-pack driver. He is a back of the pack driver this year. And I get a lot of it's attrition. He has 5 DNFs. He's 32nd in points, but he hasn't led a lap. He has nothing in the top 10 department. So everything else is a wash there, or 33rd. They're saying 33rd. So either way, he's in the high to mid 30s in points. And 7 of those 14 top 10s he had last year were in an 11 race span. That's 11 races. That's pretty much it. The rest of his time at Roush, if you count, or RFK, I should say, if you count it all, the rest of his time in 109 starts, he has 29 top 10s. And he has like maybe I think 13 or 12, maybe 11 top 5s in that span. I mean, just terrible.
There's so many ways we could go with this. I feel like we could do, and I apologize, Jared, I haven't seen your video from this week, but I feel like there are so many different paths you could take with this conversation. One is what's happening this year. You know, they lost Matt McCall in the offseason to Spire, and they replaced him with Jeremy Bullins, who had struggled with Harrison Burton the past couple seasons. So maybe there's something there that's resulting in a deeper struggle. But he's lagged behind Chris Buescher the past couple of years. So there's a conversation around maybe Keselowski, like Kyle Busch, struggling to adjust to the next-gen car. But then there's the even broader conversation about what if Brad never left Penske? What if instead of going off to join Roush Fenway, who at the time was maybe a fringe playoff team, what if instead he had taken less to stay at Penske? Or I don't remember, you'd have to go back 4 years, what free agency looked like. Maybe there was another competitive team that maybe could have put together something for Brad. What if Brad stayed in championship quality equipment? How many career wins would he be up to? Would he have been back to the championship 4? Maybe won a second championship? Like, remember, 2021, his last year with Penske, if I recall, was not great. But 2020,
6th in points.
2020, he made the championship 4. So, I know it was a pandemic year, say what you will, but like, if Brad doesn't go to Roush as a driver, his career, his legacy might look a lot better. But at the same time, if you ask Brad today, I'll bet he feels very fulfilled owning his own team. And now for the next 30 years, he has a stake in the sport that otherwise he may not have had. So like big picture, I guess this is still probably the best decision Brad could have made. It's just dramatically altered his legacy as a driver. And I just think that's like the butterfly effect there is so interesting to kind of think about.
So I'll ask you guys, and I think it's a valid question with how the other one's running this season. Did Penske driver-wise come out on top in this with Cindric instead of Brad? When you look at the statistics, Austin Cindric has I believe 3 wins, a Daytona 500, running now better than Brad Keselowski. I would argue the last season and a half.
I mean, in the long term, yeah, I think you could say yes because they have a younger driver that'll he's got a longer future in the sport.
He's
So
cheaper.
yes, that aspect.
He's cheap. I mean, financially, maybe because he is cheaper. He has won the Daytona 500 and made the playoffs the last, I guess, yeah. He missed in 23, didn't he? So he's made
one
the playoffs.
of the years he did.
He's missed the playoffs. He's made the playoffs 2 of the last 3 years. He'll make it this year. He'll make the playoffs 3 out of 4. So financially, it's probably not a terrible decision. But if you're Roger Penske, I think you're worried about winning trophies. And I think Brad Keselowski would have won them more than 3 races the last 4 years if he was still with Penske. I think so. I think he would have.
Let's see. I mean, it's actually kind of crazy. It's,
like Cindric's
he's
numbers
closing in on the numbers.
Cindric's numbers are similar probably to Brad's the last 3 years, but Brad's in a worse car, like a significantly worse car. I think we can all agree.
But see, at the same time, here's the thing. So Brad benefits by further extending his career, his legacy. He's setting up, a long-term future for his family. Penske, on the other hand, yes, if we want to argue Cindric versus Keselowski, that's easy to say. Okay, you lost a veteran in Keselowski to take on, the younger driver. But here's the thing. Brad leaves. Blaney steps up in a big way. Logano emerges as this now 3-time champion veteran. So really, I think Penske can be fine, like exactly where they're at. They've got two great, drivers who are going to launch legendary careers probably, and Cindric is gonna get him a few wins. I would say long term a Cindric is like a McMurray, Clint Boyer type. He's gonna get some wins here and there. Probably not going to be like with a championship threat like the other 2 guys are. But I could be wrong.
So here's for me, because my video yesterday is basically like what's up with Brad Keselowski. The thumbnail I asked, I think another valid question, like, is he kind of cooked? The thing with Brad is, even if it's the cars, even if it's the crew chief, like people are saying, and I think there's a valid case to be made, the age is not on his side. He is 41 years old. He'll be 42 next year. Even if it's the crew chief that's the problem, it's not like he has much time to turn it around. Like, we've seen drivers do well in their 40s before, but Brad was also, like you brought up, Eric, he was slowing down that last year a little bit at Penske as well. And then you add in the next gen who just flipped everything on its head. I mean, you look at Harvick, you look at after the first half of 22, Chase Elliott, you look at Kyle Busch, like the guys who were up front in that era, old and new, a lot of them did not really adapt too well to this car. And I think Brad could be added to that. And I mean, looking back at the consistency side of it too. I mean, yes, those cars are not the same as a Penske car, but outside of once when he had 5 top 10s in a row in 2023, he's had no more than 3 top 10s in a row in his Roush stint, outside of that one time in 2023 where he strung 5 races together.
And Roush hit on something that summer, because that was also when Buescher went on a random tear, and they've just never been able to get back to that streak.
Yeah. And I hate saying it, because I think that Brad, if in great equipment, probably could have something left in the tank to at least get a few more wins and stuff. But at what point do you kind of ask the question too, like, is Brad actively a detriment driver wise to his team? Because ownership wise, it seems like he has been a huge plus, I would argue. But driver wise, I mean, he is easily the 3rd best driver at RFK right now.
Do we have anyone immediately within the Ford developmental pipeline that maybe stands out as a possible Brad successor?
Harrison Burton.
Sam Mayer. He wanted that cup ride.
Yeah, I don't see anyone obvious that would step up. That would be as good as even Brad is right now.
Maybe we'd be more likely to see someone from front row step up, or would that be a lateral move at this point?
I think it'd be a slight upgrade. I think Roush is ahead of front row right now, slightly.
But thing is, too, with the stuff with the whole charter deal, like, if something goes sideways and all that, do they even have that 3rd charter?
Yeah, that was what a point I was going to make, was depending on how this lawsuit with Rick Ware and between Rick Ware and Legacy goes, like, if Rick Ware doesn't have a charter to lease RFK, and I don't know what they might have a contract that says no matter what, they are going to have to lease them a charter, and then Rick Ware's out of luck. But if for some reason they can't lease Roush a charter next year, the 6 may just go away, and it's the 60 and the 17, and it's like, oh shoot, I don't know.
You keep the 6 for marketing reasons, but If that's the case, I think the best possible move Brad could make with how they've started building a bit more, put Priest in that car and Brad take
it's
the
funny.
way out.
Funny you bring up Priest here. I was kind of curious, like, to each their own on how things are looking here. But when I go to the NASCAR app and see the playoff standings, Priest is in 17th and Busher is in 14th. So they are right on the edge of getting both of those guys into the playoffs. On the driver standings, according to the NASCAR website, Priest is actually 16th ahead of Josh Berry, but Josh Berry has the win. So that gets him in by default that way. So really they are close to two of their cars, aside from Brad, being in good shape right now.
Yeah, on the bottom there, Busher plus 33, Priest minus 7 right now. Now, of course, there's that swirling thing of the penalty report that hasn't come out yet. There's also a rumor that's been going around about the 17. I don't know if that's connected or not. We'll see. Maybe it'll break during the show. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
That we find out what's going on there.
Sometimes they like to release these things right after we say goodbye too. So
I have noticed that. But I mean, the rest of the team has passed him by, and I'd argue a lot of Ford has passed him by. And this is how I'd expect. It's the thing. I wouldn't even expect an RFK car or a Roush car to run like this even before the RFK side of things, unless it's like a lesser driver, like somebody
Yeah.
Brad Keselowski's. Like, I'd expect Trevor Bayne to run like this. Like, no disrespect, but he wasn't the greatest Cup guy. But Brad Keselowski, I think that's what makes this so jarring. Like, I gotta say, man, I mean, he's reminding me, and I don't think he's even as good as him, even in this equipment being lesser. He's reminding me of 2020 Jimmy Johnson. He popped up. He popped up in a race, but so did Jimmy. Remember Jimmy crashed out of that Darlington race he was leading?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Yeah.
They have the ability.
So for the Brad fans, and cherish that Darlington win, because you never know. And cherish, if he gets another chance of being in contention, cherish that race, because Jarrett and I can say this as Dale Jr. fans, you never know what you got until it's gone.
No. Now I do want to give a few shout outs, some of them involving RFK or Ford, for finishes in this race. Barry got a 6th place run. He's been a little hit or miss since his win, but the speed's been there better and better. Priest with the 7th place run. John Hunter Nemechek got a top 10 in this race, but that's not the one that I'm focused on. 13th place, Cory Heim, number 1, 23-11 finisher, I believe.
Yes, I was way off on my expectations for 23-11. I will never say that they're all going to lead a lap again.
Yeah, I mean, 2 years ago, that would have been a spot-on prediction, but last year they struggled at Kansas, strangely, and it was the same story here. Although Bubba was up in the top 5, top 6 when they had an early pit road penalty that trapped them a lap down, and then it was a struggle from there. But Cory Heim, I mean, yeah, he caused one of the restart wrecks. He did. He slipped up slightly. It was tight racing. It wasn't like an obvious, like, oh, what do you do? It wasn't like a rookie mistake, but it was like, oh, shoot, he caused that. Got to own it. So he wasn't spotless, wasn't squeaky clean. But other than that moment, he proved once again that he has the pace to be in a full-time Cup Series car. That's just the truth. Like, I know it's a business, and Riley Herbst and their family brought more money, but as who said it this week? Oh gosh. Oh, I wasn't prepared for this. Who had the quote? Someone had the quote this week, referenced the Bowman. Bowman said there's a reason that their family named their gas station after their son. I'm the resident show Riley Herbst skeptic, I guess, but this was just further proof that Cory Heim, from a talent perspective, is Cup Series ready. The sport's not all about talent. Hopefully Toyota can scrounge together the funding to get him in a competitive seat full-time sooner rather than later. And what sucks is I hear Denny Hamlin on his podcast, not this week, but like in recent weeks, make it sound like, yeah, we're going to get Heim in as many Cup races this year and next year as possible. I'm like, next year? So he's not full-time until 27 at the earliest?
Well, that doesn't mean as many as possible. Could mean all of them next year.
Maybe, but it sounds like they're not planning to put him in a full-time seat next year. And there's the lawsuit and all this other stuff. So I'm just, I just look at Cory Heim and say he's ready to go. Like, it sucks that, like, 2 years ago, it was Hocevar and Heim in the Truck Series. And since then, Hocevar has gotten a year and a half of Cup experience and is, lighting the world, not on fire, but is turning heads. and Heim is still in trucks. And I think Heim, frankly, is more talented all around than Carson Hocevar. That's how I feel watching. I mean, even watching the truck race Saturday night, like,
Oh, it's night and day difference between so many of them and him.
I mean, Cory, yeah, I was very impressed with Heim having the pace. Also, he fell a lap down early, bad strategy call, and still battled back to get a 13th. Like, I'm just saying he's good. He's very good. I mean, I'm taking a victory lap here because my prediction last week was that he'd finish top 15, and sure enough, he did. I thought that was a little bold. Turns out I was right. So I'm taking a little victory lap here.
I said it on Saturday night too, after the race. I'm like, you can see the difference. Like he is talent wise, experience wise. Now he's in a league of his own. The equipment's great on top of that. Like everything is lining up for him of basically showing like at the very least, he should be in a top tier Toyota and Xfinity. Like there's no reason he should be puttering around in trucks and, around a bunch of people who are nowhere near developmental wise where he's at. I mean, this week, I'm excited Kyle Busch is in the race because it's somebody that can actually race on the same level as Cory Heim. He might not have as good a truck or be as good, but like those two racing side by side would be art to watch. And I want to see that this Saturday.
I know we'll get to the super chats later, but this one by Justin Drake is actually very, very like relevant right here.
That wasn't my prediction, was it? My prediction was Heim top 15, right?
No, your prediction was Heim would finish higher than Herbst.
Oh,
and it wasn't a layup. It became a slam dunk by the end of that thing.
Yep.
I must have made that other prediction on my other show. Whoops. I might have gotten them mixed up, but yeah, either way, I'll take it.
Yeah,
Victory lap.
Heim time hopefully will be coming to Sunday soon. One that left Sunday and it was not his time. Well, I guess it was in a way that we all got to watch the 2012 Kurt Busch-esque meltdown was AJ Allmendinger blowing up, cussing all over the place, which is fine. That's fun to listen to. And then basically saying how much ECR sucks. Not like once when they heard him over the radio, but just constantly. They heard him on the car, like the camera on the HBO Max, which by the way, it's been rebranded from Max to HBO Max again.
I still call it HBO Max. That's probably a smart call.
You could hear him all the way, just F, 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 beep, beep, beep. Any replay you heard was just basically that.
The crazy thing though was that that stuff I can excuse because he doesn't know we can hear him there. So I almost feel bad that we saw that. You know what I mean? But the stuff over the radio where he twice, like minutes apart, maybe not minutes, a minute apart, keyed up the radio to bash ECR by name. A lot of people on Twitter pulled up an article from like 10 years ago when Kyle Busch had to like issue a public apology for doing the same thing about Toyota. And so I'm a little surprised we've heard nothing from the Chevy or Colleague or Allmendinger camp this week, and it's already Wednesday, because this was vicious. I mean, Fox tried to save him by cutting the audio over the broadcast when he mentioned ECR, but everyone with the Max subscription or a Twitter account heard it, and he was not shy about letting everyone know how he feels about his team's engine partner, and that's it's
really
crazy.
Colleague as a whole, I don't understand what has happened with AJ's time with them, because he came in and started off part-time Xfinity. You're okay. You're winning races. You're great. Let's go full-time Xfinity. Okay, great. You're winning races. You're contending for championships. Hey, we want to start a cup team. Would you please come in and drive our car a little bit part-time? Yeah, okay. Would you please drive our cup full-time in cup? Okay, yeah. Didn't do that great. Let's go back and win races in Xfinity. Let's have fun down there. Yeah. Oh, hey, would you go back with Ty Dillon the cup? Why? We were having fun again. Just go back and get in there. Really, the cars as a whole, I think he'd still be struggling a little bit. He might be on something with the motors. I'm looking at the Xfinity standings for a Colleague right now. You got Daniel Dye, their best car, 13th in the Xfinity playoff standings right now. Christian Eckes, we know Christian Eckes is a talented driver. We thought we'd get in the truck series. He's 18th, and Josh Williams, he's there in 22nd. So them as a whole, no matter the series, they are not looking good right now. I've got my prediction still for Ty Dillon not make a single top 10 in their equipment, and I'm still holding on that.
I picked Colleague not to win a single race in NASCAR this year.
Oh,
and we're a third of the way into this year, and they don't. they've had bright spots, but they don't look close.
Well, the
I,
thing,
I agree with the chat here, and Michael Waltrip would be very proud to any die his college best driver right now.
AJ Allmendinger's had a really good season before the last few weeks. So I think here's why I get the frustration. Look, I think from a professionalism standpoint, you can't trash one of your key partners like that. And I'm sure there have been meetings this week and they've sort of kind of told him, hey, don't do that. But the frustration I get, because up until 2 or 3 weeks ago, he was in a playoff spot. Like AJ Allmendinger on points was holding on to like the final playoff spot because he had top 10s at Bristol, top 10s at Homestead, I think Las Vegas, like tracks you wouldn't expect, other than Homestead, I guess, you wouldn't expect Allmendinger and Colleague Racing to finish top 10 at, but AJ was getting the most out of those cars. But he's had 2 terminal engine failures in the first 12 weeks in the biggest race, the Daytona 500, and now here at Kansas. So I get the frustration. And on the heels of Trackhouse, Chastain, Suarez sort of lamenting the lack of speed in their cars, it's been a bad week for ECR. Like, I think if Allmendinger just blows up at ECR in a vacuum, we'd say, oh, yeah, he's frustrated. It's been a good stretch, and now he's out of playoff contention. That sucks. But I think on the heels of the Chastain comments at Texas and some of what Daniel Suarez has said, and his now, I think they're married now, wife has said on the Netflix show, it's is there a problem with ECR? Because now you look and you're like, shit, you're right. Hendrick's obviously winning races. They have Hendrick engines. Spire has taken a huge step forward, almost won Texas. Hocevar's winning poles. They have Hendrick engines. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in playoff contention, Hendrick engine. And now it's like, well, wait, maybe that is why Kyle Busch can't win a race, because ECR sucks. Like maybe this is like, boom, we've cracked the code. We're geniuses. So I think that's why it's an interesting story is like seeing now that difference between the Chevy camp. Is it strictly what's under the hood? Probably not. But AJ Allmendinger and Ross Chastain don't like what's under the hood. That part is pretty clear.
No, I mean, it's growing. Like, by the week, we're seeing like the amount of people critical with it, or those talking about it and all that. And look, in general, I mean, that whole side of Chevrolet is outside the engines. Just take it, just the performance aspect. Like you said about the Spire versus Hendrick versus them. I mean, it's almost like a completely different OEM. Like, one side is completely on the same page. Everyone's ascending. On the other side is like a wrecked bucket of bleep, as the chat was so eloquently quoting Kurt.
Classic.
I mean, it's, Napa Racing fan in the chat here, Spire is kind of becoming that second best Chevy team.
And I think that's what Trackhouse and RC, I think that's what these guys kind of see. And is it strictly the engines? Maybe, maybe not, but that certainly seems to be playing a role. If you're not fast, and in the case of Allmendinger, also not reliable, then what are you? You're not good. That's a problem.
Well, and you have to think too, the frustration too of the season. Like, yes, he was having a good season, but remember right before this kind of run he had, Coda was running well, and then at the very end had issues and fell all the way to the back.
Oh yeah.
Like, he was running like top 5 or so, or top 10, at least top 10. I know he was up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then he finished like what, 28th or something like that. I don't remember. It
was bad
months ago, but it was like, the frustration definitely has to be there, just because of like the fact that when you look at, I'll take it off screen so I can see it myself here. The people that are kind of in this group on the cut line, Allmendinger has generally been better than. I mean, I would argue he's been better than Stenhouse. Just Stenhouse doesn't have as many issues. I'd argue
0 DNFs for Ricky Stenhouse this year, if you can believe it.
I'd argue he's better. Allmendinger's been better than John Hunter Nemechek this year, or Kyle Busch. Even I think you can make the argument for. I think he's been better than McDowell. McDowell's had higher highs. He's been better than Austin Dillon. He's been better than Zane Smith. I think the only ones ahead of him on that range you can say are probably been better than Allmendinger. Speed-wise, without problems happening, I think would be like Preece and Hocevar, because Hocevar has something happen wrong every damn week.
Yeah. What was it? Was it a blown tire when he was in the top 10 at the end this week?
He finished. He was running like, I think, 9th. Let's just be generous. Say he was running 9th, and he ended up finishing 26. Like, that's a swing of 17 points.
Pretty par for the course.
Give him those 17 points back, and he is ahead of Kyle Busch in points just off that alone. How
It's
about
tight. It is tight back there. I mean, AJ, I
Mhm.
mentioned he was in a playoff spot 3 weeks ago. Now he's 25th, but it's tight. It's like he's a close
Well,
25th.
Well, the thing is, it's like it's been tight, but it's like finally the teams that should be performing are starting to perform, and you're seeing them pull away. Like
Up
2
front,
spots
yes.
ahead of the cut line, Buescher is plus 33 already. Briscoe's finally getting his act together and running where he should be, plus
Another top
27
5.
now.
Yeah, good point.
Then you got Stenhouse, Priest, Busch there. But I mean, Nemechek, Hocevar, McDowell, they're 24 to 30 points back at this point, and they're falling back to guys like Austin Dillon and Todd Gilliland, who good on them for being top 25 this year, but I really don't think should be running where a lot of them are. But you're getting to the point now, the 600 is the halfway point of the regular season. Yeah, just not the time to make it up. Or not enough time to make it up. One last thing to talk about before we go to the ratings and the poll and everything. Let's be honest. This weekend was pretty hyped up, especially after last year. Kansas has put on, I would argue, 6 fantastic races to open up the next gen era. And then we go into this, and well, I'll just say everyone's disappointed. It seems like on social media, everyone's upset. The Jeff Gluck poll was low. We'll talk about our poll in a bit. So I kind of want to ask, like, I'll put a poll about this in a moment. Should we be worried about 1.5 mile racing at this point? Because I'll say for me, I'll put it on watch, but I really don't think this race was as bad as people thought. I think I said I'd give it like a 5-ish, but more towards a 6. Like it was an above average race. It was just probably the worst next gen race at Kansas so far, which is not really saying much because those races have all been pretty damn good.
I mean, we still saw great racing. Like ultimately, so the next gen is frustrating to watch when there's so much grip that drivers don't slip, don't make mistakes. And we saw guys slip and make mistakes at Kansas. It's also frustrating when dirty air becomes such a significant detriment that nobody can pass. Well, Kansas is 3-4 grooves. There's room to make moves happen. We still saw passing throughout the field. So I'll say the car wasn't the problem this week. I don't think, I mean, could the car be better? Sure. Absolutely. Could the tire wear more? Yeah, I'm sure. They did have a different left side tire than they've had at Kansas the past few years. Yeah, there's things they could do to maybe make it better, maybe make it worse. I don't know. The reason this race, though, wasn't amazing was because the 3 or 4 cars that could have beat Kyle Larson all took themselves out. Like, that's the problem. Look at the last year's race. You had Busch versus Chastain on top of each other at the end. Busch wrecks, great drama. Last year, Buescher and Larson side by side. It was close. Like, guys were battling for the lead. We had those great battles and guys wrecking like that, but it was for 5th, 12th, 15th. Because the only guys who could run with Larson did something to take themselves out, we never got that great whoa moment up front racing for the win like we have the past couple of trips here. I think that's why this race is perceived as significantly worse. And it was less entertaining than previous Kansas races. But again, I don't think it was the car. I don't think the car was the key reason why. I think it was other factors that were just circumstantial.
Yeah, I'll argue this. So I'm in the wait and see category because I don't definitively say no just because I thought Vegas and Homestead were step downs. I thought the end of last year there was a little bit you could see with it. You can definitely I think there's at least some quality diminished with the racing. Not a ton, but like I think it's like a step down from where it was, say, the first 2.5-ish years of this car, give or take. For me, it's if the 600, knock on wood, it runs all the way through. Like, let's make sure that happens too. Because last year, I don't think we got a fair shot at seeing how good that race could have been. If the 600 is meh at best, if it's just kind of like, meh, and it's not dominating. Like, I appreciated Dale Jr. this week actually saying, like, pushing back on what drivers and especially media members were saying, like, oh, they're just mad because, domination. And he brought points like, no, that's not what people have been complaining about for the last couple of weeks. Like, and I think we've done a good job on this show of saying that too. I will start to get worried if Charlotte, Nashville, Michigan are kind of meh, or especially if they're duds, just because those are 3 tracks this car is raced really good at. I enjoy all 3 races. Like there's a ton of great stuff for all 3 of those races that you can look, or tracks that you can look at with races in the past with this car. And if those ones are fine, I'm not, then, if they're really good, I'm going to be back in the no category. Like, don't worry about the 1.5 miles and intermediates. Do stuff to make sure the racing stays good and whatnot. But I'll say I'm in that wait and see right now. And that's the first time in the next gen era on the 1.5 miles, I think I've been in the wait and see. And maybe it's just because the last couple weeks before this have been duds. And I will fully admit, I was fully overhyping Kansas and like banking on another banger, which is always a dumb thing to do because in racing, nothing is guaranteed like that. But I'm very interested in these next couple of weeks. I think they're going to be a very good litmus test.
I think the thing will be, I think the thing that we've seen between last year and this year is there were no rule changes last year to this year. And there were no car body changes last year to this year. This time last year, Ford and Toyota were still figuring out a whole new aero system. That's not the case this year. So I think as everything gets more and more optimized, you are going to see dominant performances more frequently. I think that's the only way you could say the car plays a role, but I think that's just teams being teams. The way maybe you counter that is next year, introduce a rule change, even if it's as simple as,
well, it'll be a new Chevy body.
There's rumors there'll be a new Chevy body, so that might spice things up naturally. But I don't know. Like, if it's taking the underbody off, whatever it is, just there needs to be a physical change to the car between now and next year, I think, to maybe spice up the intermediates a little bit more, or else the guys who've hit on it, like Larson and Hendrick, are just going to hit on it every week.
All right, guys. Well, there is one more thing before we get to the poll to look at, and that is the ratings for this week. I did not see it, and keep an eye on the chat, guys, if someone has seen the truck ratings.
Yeah, I didn't see them. I'll have to look them up.
Yeah, I'll check Sports Media Watch really quick, but they do not have anything on it other than just a little bit when it comes to Kansas Cup that they can expound upon a little bit. So this week is also the last when it comes to the points races for Fox Sports. We still have one more with the All-Star race this weekend, and then we're on to Prime. So a little beefier when it comes to the ratings. So Cup scored 2.319 million viewers, up 1% from last year, though that was a delayed race. But to be fair, it was also only down 1% from 2023 and 2022 Kansas races. So generally it's a normal Kansas race. The other part is it was down from Mother's Day last year. I saw everyone using Mother's Day as the excuse for like why people weren't there and stuff. And to a degree, I get that because Darlington was not sold out, but it was also Darlington. So it was still a draw for people more than a Kansas would be. And that showed in the TV ratings. Overall, there was mixed to good indicators from the full season for Fox Sports as a whole. Overall, Fox averaged 3.308 million viewers in their 12 points races, while it was down from the opening 12 points races last year by 7.4%. It actually was flat with Fox Sports in total last year, which would surprise me in any metric, even if you added 4 more FS1 races. Like, I would have thought they'd be down double digits. So I want to give them that credit. I think
because that's important to note is they had more cable races this year than they did last year. So you would expect the net number. Now, last year, obviously Daytona got rained out or got delayed. And so, that was a big ratings hit. You're not including the Clash, but obviously that was a huge ratings loss last year.
To be fair, Daytona, it was also delayed this past year and roughly lost 15 to 20% of its audience this year as well. So it was also on the 8 comparable races, and I think this is the key indicator to look at. On the 8 comparable races, it was up 4.7% year over year. And when you take out the Daytona 500, it was still up almost 3% year over year, which is a meaningful change in this day and age for television, especially cable. So I want to get the win in there. And the other one this one baffled me because we don't really get that much publicly about the key demo, but in the 18 to 49 demo, year over year, Fox and FS1 combined to see a 7% increase in the 18 to 49 demo.
The Netflix effect. I don't
Well,
know.
but whatever it is, that is a significant gain. And maybe it's a lot of older people have dropped off or something. And maybe we just by percentage we're starting
but the numbers
become...
wouldn't suggest that. The numbers would suggest
Yeah.
the viewership was about the same. So we just got more younger viewers tuned in. That is a little surprising. And I'm not, maybe it is, some of it's the Netflix show. Maybe some of it is that younger drivers, I think, are finally gaining audiences. Like I was shocked when I was at Texas a couple weeks ago and I was driving through the campground to start the weekend, and I'm seeing Tyler Reddick Jordan flags hanging from RVs. I'm seeing Carson Hocevar flags. Like I just remember, you go into Texas and you see a lot of Texas flags, for one, but then you see Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon and Dale Jr. and it's the class. I was shocked by how much modern merchandise I was seeing even just a few weeks ago. So I think between Larson winning all these races, Bell kind of emerging, I think these young names, some of these younger guys are really starting to find their footing, which from like 2018 to 2022-ish, we really struggled with. And so I think that may be part of it for sure.
Mm-hmm. As for kind of moving on from the rating side of it, because I think that was generally a pretty big plus in a lot of good aspects. Maybe down. We knew it was going to be down because of the more cable races.
Yeah, I consider those numbers overall a positive if you're NASCAR.
Now build on it, please.
Yes.
Like Fox, you got a new director. Build on it. Let's get some more. Let's build on this. As for the poll, 11,000 voted. 8% voted this as a great race. 53% voted it as a good race. 31% average, 8% negative. So a 61% net positive versus 8% negative. I have some of the numbers here with it too. This was 12th of 13 polled races for Kansas. The only one lower was 2020, that dreadful cold 550 race, which is nuts. Because I was there at that one, and that has no business being in the same sentence as this past week. I don't care what you thought. There's so many people like, man, we need to go back to the late Gen 6 era. Like, no, we do not. This is not. I suffered. I did my time. 3 years of it in 550 Azkaban. I'm good. I don't need to go back to that. That was hell.
If we do anything different, just give me a higher horsepower Xfinity car and call it a day.
I keep hearing the 750. Let's try it, man. This was also 40th of 56 polled intermediate races, mile and a half generally, but I believe mile and a half races actually.
Wow.
So kind of in the lower part of it. And I don't think this race was good enough to be in that 80% by any mean or close to that. But I feel like it should be, I feel like it should be better than 61, like at least in the high 60s.
Some of that is fatigue because the last few weeks have not been great. And I think some of it is people didn't like that it was a dominant winner. We've seen a few of those this year. Like I agree with what Dale Jr. said. It's like, that's not the main thing we've complained about the last few weeks, but there are fans who do complain about that. And I hate it because it almost validates when Elton Sawyer throws up those stupid passing statistics at Talladega. So I would plead with fans to not gripe about dominant wins unless it becomes every week. If we truly become Formula One, then yes, that is a problem for sure. But we're not there. We're not even close to that point. And so I would plead with fans to not feed into the Elton Sawyer agenda, I guess.
This season has, at least for me, and for very different reasons, but also for very similar feel and reasons, this season so much to me reminds me of 2018, where you go into the year before was definitely more dominated in 2017 to 18, but there's generally a couple drivers that are going to be dominating the way. And then a lot of the races in that year, especially to start out, remember starting out that year, those races were lackluster to say the least, like until we got to about the slide job finish, Daytona, like the middle of the summer.
Sure. Yeah.
It was a slog.
That's a good point.
It's kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Which is really funny because that wasn't like the 550 years or anything like that. That's what led to the 550 years. And now it's almost like this year and kind of what happened before it is kind of almost leading to a 750 kind of thing. So it's like we're having a similar kind of like complaints and discrepancies with how good or bad the racing is, but it's leading completely the opposite direction and maybe a more positive one. I'm knock on wood again with that one. I'm trying to be positive with that. But the first comment was from Isaac, who said, to the people that say, hey, this car raced well at Kansas, maybe we shouldn't change it. To that I say Byron's rear diffuser was ruined all because of one flat tire, and yet NASCAR is going to think that they like what we like what we're seeing. Ridiculous. So Isaac was not a fan, at least of the next gen car,
At least of the diffuser.
He doesn't like what he sees.
He does not like what he sees. As for the comments and the gutter comments, starting with the comments here, Brendan H says, imagine how much better this product would be with 950 horsepower. Also, Fox missing Brad's wreck for 10 seconds is another all-time Fox moment.
I'll say I'm all for upping the horsepower at a lot of tracks, but if you up the horsepower at Kansas, Kyle Larson wins that race by 15 seconds. Like that's just I think that's what we would have seen. Or maybe he burns the right rear off quicker, but I doubt it.
On that note, can we just take a moment to acknowledge we're going into our last week of the year with Fox for a cup race?
Yes,
very exciting.
I love it.
Much earlier than the past.
Dat Mudkip, actually, I think it's the earliest ever for Fox. Because even before the last deal, I should say, I think it was the first 13 points races. But Dat Mudkip says, it amazes me just how slow these cars become when they go side by side.
The drag, yeah. No, there's so much drag.
NASCAR, I think Dog. Yeah, NASCAR Dog says, like, it wasn't bad, but the season we've had, okay, just isn't cutting it for me. So I can at least understand that part of it, like wanting that. I will say one thing. It is year 4 of the next gen. And if you remember, year 4 for the COT was like 2010, technically. If you want to say full-time season, 2011, you saw big changes and it seemed to work out pretty well. Year 4 with the Gen 6, I believe, was 2016, kind of led into that 17-18 where they started making big changes. So NASCAR has a history of making big changes after the 4th year or so of a new car. So, I mean,
spend the money.
Please. Yeah. Cost cutting. Yay. John here says, I'm still at the track as I write this. It was great from the stands. That's another factor. Maybe it was just Fox Sports didn't show us.
Well, I just think because anyone who could catch Larson messed up. I think with the passing and action was 10th on back, and that was not on camera as much. I have noticed, I don't know if you guys feel this way, and I don't have any stats or evidence to back it up, but I've noticed that the past couple weeks post Artie Kempner on restarts, especially, Fox is sticking with the helicopter cam, the wide angle a lot more to show more of the feel. And that's something I think a lot of fans have been asking for, especially of Fox, who loves their close up and onboard camera angles.
It's something NBC does.
Yeah, NBC's been better at it, and fans appreciate it. So has anyone else noticed it? Again, maybe you could actually say, maybe I'm lying. Maybe it's not actually true, but it feels like we've gotten wider angles more.
Sorry, I have like something in my throat for some reason. Still Joe here says, so far the best part of my day. I'm having a bad day. Well, I hope you're having a good day, buddy. I hope you're having a good day.
Hope your day turned out better after you wrote that comment.
It had to be better than Brad's day, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Holden McMillan says Larson is slowly becoming the new MTJ in the style of his wins. When he wins, he straight up embarrasses them. He's now the first driver this season to complete the quadfecta of the fastest lap, paying a point as well with that. Yeah, he won the stage. He got all 61 possible points. And then, if I'm not mistaken, he's got like of the last 80 possible stage points, he has like 77 or something crazy like that.
He also now has more than double the laps led of anyone else this season. 817. Next highest, I believe, is 386.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, some of that was Bristol. Bristol, you rack up laps led quick, but still.
Still, I mean, 200 was it? 221 Kansas laps.
Yeah.
That's pretty
it's legit.
Yeah, it's pretty big. He also says, let's see, as a fan of Chastain, I'm waiting for him and his team to put a weekend together. Let's do something next week for $1 million.
Kansas was a huge bummer for Chastain. I mean, I know he kind of didn't have a second place car, but he finished second at Texas. So you're like, oh, hey, he's going to go out or late in qualifying, and he still qualified bad. Okay, well, he ran well here last year. Maybe he'll race. He didn't race good. He didn't earn any stage points. He finished 18th. Like, I was very disappointed by Trackhouse in general. I know SVG scored a 20th, which for him is basically a win. But other than SVG, Trackhouse was a bummer this weekend.
Yeah. The bottom three gutter comments here. I think it's Brixt says, always a trash race when NASCAR's golden boy can cheat his way to a win.
Oh man, there it is. Cheater boy Larson now. Oh,
our golden boy. Like I remember a while when everyone would always say golden boy about Chase Elliott and complain about Elliott and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Chase Franklin says this was the most boring race of the next gen era. Tire failures left and right. Driver leads 200 plus laps. This car is in trouble.
Did they not watch Bristol or like 3 other races this year that
were
were definitely less entertaining?
And then,
but that's okay. That's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Not Blunt Larson, but Brent Larson says every race Kyle Larson wins is effing great. That was the lowest voted.
And they got downvoted. Dang.
That was the lowest voted comment.
Tough crowd.
That was the poll. Welcome back, Danny.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I just suddenly acted weird for a second, but we're back.
All good. Just in time.
I got on Eric's Wi-Fi or something like that.
That's so mean. I love it. Let's talk about the truck race. There were 2 big things, or I guess 3 after the race to talk about. We talked about him earlier. Let's talk about Cory Heim for a moment. What a horrible, very bad, no good, terrible race. And there he is in the bottom. He finished a terrible 3rd place.
Yeah. He got so what was it? He got trapped a lap down by a pit cycle, so lost all his track position.
Almost, I think.
Something like that.
It was twice.
Well, he fell back to like 20 something, and then he commits a restart violation. So he's back to like 25th or late in the race, and he still rallied to finish 3rd. I mean, Cory Heim, I mean, that truck is really good. He's obviously really good. I wanted to pull up a stat real quick. I mentioned how Larson on Cup has led more than double the laps of anyone else. Heim is almost triple the next guy, which would be Chandler Smith. Almost triple. It's not quite. Almost triple. So Cory Heim, very good. But the story at the end of this was Lane Riggs. Lane Riggs is someone we could have mentioned earlier when talking about Ford drivers who might be legit one day. I think he's a year or 2 away from ever being in Cup consideration. But I mean, Lane Riggs is a short track star, weekly series champion, and I know he hasn't won a truck race this year, and I know he failed tech, so his truck wasn't fully legal. But the way he ran down Carson Hocevar in the final laps I was impressed. I thought that was a really fun charge.
I mean, it was entirely entertaining, and I was watching him come in. I was like, oh, I feel good about. I said I don't feel good about this pick, but I'm going to go with Lane Riggs. I told the guys like I'm feeling pretty good about this Lane Riggs pick, and it's like, oh, he almost won, and then don't want to talk about it now.
But that finish was so fun. I after that truck race, like I was beaming. I was just like, this race was awesome in like every way. Like if you look at the racing itself, really awesome. You look at the storylines of guys making their way up through the pack after problems I had, really, really fun, really awesome race there. The finish, Lane Riggs running down Carson Hocevar, gets into him. They both get up into the wall, and they keep it going. That's not the first Kansas race in the truck series where 2 guys got into each other racing for the win, got sideways, and kept her on going. Maybe not to the crazy extent of that one from, I think, the late 2000s, 2010s era, like Johnny Sauter and Ron Hornaday. Yes, it was 2010 Johnny Sauter, Ron Hornaday.
Good pull.
That it wasn't that crazy, but it was still up there. Good job, Cito.
And then
2009, one or the other.
And then not only that, Carson getting the win. William Byron, obviously the Cup driver in the field who has the most experience. You you would think on paper he should just dominate, but he didn't.
No,
Yeah,
he was nowhere close to them.
The 07 truck hasn't seemed quite as good. Like even when Larson drove it at Homestead, remember he was probably the third best truck in that race and took advantage of Heim's truck failing him, I guess, at the end. But no, I mean, Hocevar was great. I mean, good to see him get another truck win. And I did love, and I honestly, like watching Lane Riggs charge through the field. I was kind of rooting for him. Obviously we like Carson on the show, Carson, host of our fans, but like Lane Riggs was putting on a show. I kind of wanted to see him get him, but after he, put him in the wall, I thought Hocevar flipping him the bird across the line was honestly kind of deserved. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, like I get it.
I mean, they didn't wreck. They made contact. Rubbin's racing, wrecking is dirty. That's the way I see it.
I looked at it as like Riggs all but wrecked him. And if he had wrecked Hocevar, like Hocevar would have every right to be pissed. But that Hocevar still won the race. I'm like, yeah, I thought it was funny. I know some people didn't like it. I thought it was 100% it's valid.
It's that old generation that doesn't like it. Like, I'm sorry. Every single one of us at one point has flipped the bird at each other. Like, just cause like when you're friends with each other, like every single one of us at some point has been like, hey. And then you like look over and you just see us like flip the bird at him. I'm just going to use my index so I don't get demonetized.
Well done. It reminded me though of like when SVG and Austin Hill went back and forth, and then SVG won the race and was doing burnouts in Austin Hill's mirror. Like that, just that little bit of like cocky, like kind of showboating is good. And I felt like it was funny. It was good. It was good stuff.
You can't say that you want that personality. You want a driver to go out there and be unlike the rest, and then constantly complain when drivers go out there, show funny personality and be outside of the box. I want an outside of the box driver.
On paper, Carson Hocevar has everything that newer NASCAR fans should want to root for, but yet they find reasons to not like him. I do like him, honestly. He's a fun driver to watch.
He's just got to start getting some cup wins. Like, get some of the cup wins under his belt too. Start building up more than just the truck series. Like, I love it. Anti-hero, villain here. I don't care what he is. I don't want to see him pushed down the way they did to Chastain.
Thinking the Spire 7 truck versus the 07, that they're gonna really test how bad the 07 is compared to the 7, because they put Sammy Smith in the 7 and Kyle Busch in the 07 for this weekend.
That'll be interesting to watch. Yeah, that's a good point. Kyle in the 07. I'd have to look at their head-to-heads this year. In my head, I feel like the 7 has been better than the 07, but now maybe the stats would say something else.
And I just realized they got both drivers of the 8 in the other 2 series to come down and drive those 2 trucks.
Wow, that is ironic. Strange.
I was looking to this kind of off topic, and we'll get to super chats in a moment, but I was looking at the schedule for the 17 Hendrick car in Xfinity. And I didn't realize that the Charlotte race is the last race of the year that a driver that isn't Day is racing it. So I guess I think it's William Byron. I believe it might be William Byron. I can't remember. I'll look when we get to Charlotte. Yeah. But Corey Day is going to be in that car the rest of the way. So I don't know why, but I just brought that up it was interesting with like those kind of driver for hire almost kind of things, or cars. Let's go to the super chat stage break really quick.
Let's do it.
We got a few to start, Joe.
Can I say one more thing on the truck series before you do that?
Go for it.
You talk about, you look at things and go, I saw someone put this on the chat, I had to verify it. Welcome back to the truck series, Connor Jones. I didn't realize he's with Nice Motorsports this weekend.
Yeah, I saw that.
Slight demotion, Thor Sport to Nice, but he's back. He's back.
All right, let's get to the first super chat stage break. I'll write down where we start this baby off. Chris for the 5 says all-star gimmick, a next-gen car with an old 2000s vintage 1000 horsepower motor, red soft tires, and paint it black, labeled the Chris Wright Hocevar, piloted by Carson.
What?
I don't know what exactly that all is adding up to mean, but it's an interesting idea, and I'll go with it over just the same old.
Jared, I think that was We have a bunch from before the show started that I don't know if you can see, but
do?
I can see them. Do you want me to put them up on the screen?
You can check. I didn't know we had more.
We have like 20 before the one you just put on the screen.
Well, no, that was left
that
over from my last stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like it resets once we go live.
Oh,
Because I'm
never
like
mind
looking,
then.
I'm looking at the other end, and I'm like, Chris was the first one, I swear.
Yeah. Oh, I guess you're right. I guess we are. I guess I am looking at the ones from this last weekend. Never mind then. Yeah, we're all like in Jarrett's account, so I can see his old streams and got it mixed up. My bad, y'all.
It's weird. It threw me off.
Then
for a
you're all
few
good.
weeks.
No, I was like, oh, I just want to make sure we don't miss these other like 10 I see. Okay, you're fine.
SW for the 2 says last one, and the Fox is out of here. Hello, Prime.
Yeah.
Woo!
Like old school umpire. Yeah.
Yeah. Timothy Wolf with the 25-month member chat saying, big loser on Sunday, Chase Elliott Jackman. Just the whole crew, man. They're just they ain't there. And Napa Racing fan brings it up. Chase Elliott's pit crew was not in their prime. But Alex with the 5 years says, in honor of my old alias, happy 80th birthday to the Railway Series, aka Thomas the Tank Engine.
80 years old. Wow.
Wow.
Do they have trains back then? I'm just kidding.
Justin Drake with 5 says, I'll be honest, although Busch would have been cool to see in IndyCar, Larson adapted better to that car than I think Busch ever could. You know, I'd put it in the lightning round, so we'll kind of talk about it then, but that was an interesting revelation. We'd heard the rumors for so long about it, to have it actually confirmed this week by Kyle Busch.
I feel like the rumors of Busch wanting to do it when he was at Gibbs and then getting turned down by Joe, that I think had been rumored and kind of out there sort of to some extent. The Larson, the fact that Busch was in conversations with McLaren to run basically the deal Larson's doing, and then Larson got it instead, that I feel like was new, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to hear how close we came to Kyle Busch instead of Kyle Larson double attempt.
I would have loved to see 2017 Kyle Busch do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like in hindsight, especially knowing where Busch has ended up now, and now that we look at that stretch as like the prime Kyle Busch, it's like, man, it would have been nice to see prime Kyle Busch run the Indy 500 during that stretch.
What do we even consider to be prime Kyle Busch? Because honestly, even though he didn't win a championship, I still think 08 to 09 Kyle Busch was on an insane level back then.
Yeah. He went to 5 straight championship 4s from 15 to 19, which is why I kind of consider that his like best stretch.
Yeah.
But you're right. He did like have a couple just blow up years back then.
He matured so much in that like 11 to 15 range.
I guess the 08, 09, and even 2010 wasn't blow up, more of a glow up compared to where he was at Hendrick. He got a few wins, but yeah. And then prime, I'd say 15 to 19. That seems right.
A couple more here. Justin Drake with the 10 says, can we give Briscoe his due? I know he's not the first chase you think about, but he took his car from the back to a top 4 on speed. He's running where he should.
Shout out to
the big thing.
Shout out to last week's guest, Auto Racing Analytics. If you follow him on Twitter, he noted about halfway through the race, Briscoe fell a lap down during a pit cycle, but had slightly fresher tires than the leader, was able to run the leader down. I think it was Larson, and actually pass Larson under green to get his lap back before the stage end. That saved his race. And Grant made that observation on Twitter that like, hey, watch out for Briscoe. Like, I don't know that he's as good as Larson, but like this might be a top 5 car if he gets his track position. And once he did, sure enough, 4th place finish. So shout out to last week's guest.
Mitchell B here for the 5 says, in case you didn't see it per Facebook, the Rockford Speedway flag stand was saved and moved to Madison Speedway. Correct. Yes. So that was moved to Madison. And then the stands, I believe, were they moved to Owasso? They were John knows where he's more in depth in the short track scene nowadays in the Midwest. But yeah, different remnants of Rockford Speedway live on in other places. And then I look at the 2 chunks of it I have over on my little stand there. I love hearing about where it lives on. So I appreciate it, Mitchell. I appreciate it. 2 more here. Fred Dog for the 5 says, if I have this correctly, Harvick and Dale Jr. are doing the Cars Tour broadcast at North Wilkesboro on FS1. Will it be great, or do you think Fox is going to Fox it up? Well, it's simulcast with Flow. I think they're doing the production, so whatever you think of Flow, because Eric Brendan will be the lead commentator on that. And I think Blake McCandless, which I don't know about you guys, Blake's awesome dude. Really big
Worked
fan
with
of
him on iRacing stuff in the past. He's a professional.
And he's helped out with he's drove and helped with stuff on the e-tickets before. Really good dude. He's going to be in the pits doing some pit reporting, getting a shot there, at least from what I can tell. I think it should be fine. I'm going to record it and watch it because we got the e-ticket we're doing on Friday night. So I won't be able to see it live, but I'll definitely probably rewatch it when I get home that night. And I'm really curious to see what they can do. And then Justin, I think this is the one you talked about earlier, for the 10, saying Eric predicting last week Heim would outrun Herbst was such a layup pick, but good for Heim outrunning the rest of 23-11.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
he did. He exceeded expectations. I'll hang my hat on that.
All right, guys. Well, Danny, I was looking at the forecast and I saw it's looking stormy this week in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, no, I gotta keep an eye out on the lake this weekend. Might run into some thunder, and those. What comes after that?
Oh, I know it does. Ka-chow! The lightning round.
Lightning round.
Random dancing. Oh, you were stopped a second on my end.
Oh, uh-oh. Epilepsy warning.
All right, let's get into it.
Can we do it all at the same time?
Oh God, I don't know. Break StreamYard.
3, 2, 1, go.
Mine resets the settings. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to let these two be Christmas lights around me and just blink on and off. That is
not on my screen.
One goes out, they all go out. As we're lightning around this week, of course, we have the NWP Clips channel at NWP Clips. We're going to do the episode replays, everything like that. So definitely keep that checked out for other fun stuff, especially since when there's weekends coming up that we'll all be in the same town. Prime has nearly sold out their ad slots and has hinted at running only side-by-side commercials instead of full screen, according to Adam Stern. Knock on wood that that's the case. I really hope so. We just talked about Kyle Busch having those two opportunities to run the double that fell through. That sucks because, again, I think we all would have loved to see it.
I want to see an M&M's wrapped Indy car.
We have
that
one.
Would have been cool.
We have one this Friday on IDK Players channel. So there.
Plug.
Actually, I should send you guys afterwards. I'm gonna write it down now. That paint scheme, because it's actually like, I wonder if I can save it and actually pop it on here because it's actually pretty badass. Because we have a driver who always runs Kyle Busch schemes.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can save that really quick and put it on screen. Where did I put it?
Do it.
All right, let's see. Save image. Yes, I do. All right, let's see. Maybe I can put it on screen. Like, can I present it on screen?
Do it.
There it is.
Whoa.
That looks
that's
really
pretty
cool,
sick.
honestly.
Yeah,
I love that. That looks nice.
I so wish we could have saw that in real life.
I don't think there could be any race car that would have an M&M livery that would look bad. It could be NHRA. It could be a Bandolier. It could be a Legends car. I think it would always look good. I think
Monster truck.
Even Kyle Busch ran a dirt late model that was M&M's one time, and that looked good.
An electric scooter.
I love that. Sorry, Danny, I blocked your face from him, but it must have been.
No, that would definitely be a nightmare. I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Oh man, but
Good
yeah,
stuff.
I'm definitely excited about that one. That is the only way I think an M&M scheme could look bad is when they had that really crappy 38 font in like 2003 that looked like it was put on by a crayon. Like that's the only way that I can see it being bad. And that was a number.
I kind of like that. And then Kenny Schrader's number font. I kind of liked it.
I mean, it wasn't horrible. It was just when you look at it, like where's it at? That it's like, damn, and then you add like the 18 to it or whatever. Let's see.
Oh, that
What else
zombie
we got?
M&M's scheme sucked. That's the only other one that I would
Was
say
that the
was
gray
bad.
one?
Yeah, did not like that.
Was that his last? Was that like one of his last wins in the 18?
Texas, the Wednesday night race.
Oh, that's right. Because we had a show after that race,
Mhm.
and that was our Jimmy Johnson episode. That was a blast
Yeah.
from the past. That's what 5 years ago.
No, it was Skittles. That was what it was. Not M&M.
Was that not an M&M?
Yeah.
Zombie
No,
Skittles or zombie?
It was zombie Skittles.
Oh,
That was such a forgettable race.
yeah, I just didn't
It
like
was
that
just-
car.
It was just to get this damn race in one way or another race.
No, Kyle Busch actually had some great Halloween M&M's cars.
That
Yeah.
he did.
Back to the lightning round here. Joey Logano is going to have a matching yellow scheme with Scott McLaughlin's IndyCar for the
Cool.
600. Also, IndyCar and Fox have moved 5 of their races' start times this summer, including Gateway being moved to a primetime race in order to not have direct competition between IndyCar and NASCAR. Amazing. We can grow if we just don't fight each other. And then next week, we will be on Danny's channel Wednesday, May 21st at 8 p.m. Eastern with our guest, David Land. Planning on that, unless, it's baby watch time. So like the backup plan is basically Thursday. If that
Keep an
has to
eye
come
on
to
social
it.
media.
Yeah, we will keep you all updated. But the plan now is either way, we're on Danny's channel. But the plan is May 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern time on David's, with David as guest on Danny's channel.
I'm about to say on David's channel.
Yeah, actually, we're doing a partnership with Unverified. I'm kidding. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's always fun having David come on because his reactions to like the gutter comments and some of the different segments we've put in the last couple of years, he's just like, oh, I completely forgot this was happening. Let's go. Random driver time.
What has been his record of random drivers? Has he won it like every time somehow?
I don't know. So Isaac, who left the first comment this week, he was the one who left Grant's predictions, if they were right or wrong, for me to look at, and that Grant went over. If he can do that, that's kind of like a homework assignment. You can do that for David if he had those predictions. Let me know, and I'll look for your comment this week on the poll, and I'll see if I can like pull those up and be like, hey, David, why are you so wrong? Or David, you're kind of more right than all of us. Like, welcome back. Either way. But that is, where's that? The lightning round. Ka-chow.
Cars Boy 95 said David got Marty Robbins.
That's right. That was a good poll.
All right. Well, we do have, I don't know if headlines is the right way, but we haven't been able to put this up this much this year. Let's go to the sort of headlined segment. Eric, you kind of went more detail, I think, than either of us did on it. I kind of want to let you kind of take charge on this. It's another episode of NASCOURT.
Dun dun. Yes. So now I need to remember what the hell happened the other day. There was a hearing between NASCAR and the teams, 2311 Front Row. So 2311 in Front Row, you will remember this offseason, won their preliminary injunction. They got their injunction granted by a judge in, I believe, in North Carolina, Kenneth Bell. And as a result, the teams were able then to race as chartered entries this year. They were also able to finalize those purchases of the Stewart-Haas charters for the 2025 season through the duration of this lawsuit. So essentially, the teams, if you remember, did not sign the final charter agreement, partially because there was a release clause in there that said, if you sign this, you cannot sue NASCAR and we cannot sue you, and vice versa. And so not wanting to lose their rights to sue, they chose not to sign it, sued NASCAR, but they argued in court that contracts with drivers, with sponsors, and other things were at jeopardy if they don't get to keep their charters for at least the next few months. And a judge granted them the injunction. So this hearing was NASCAR appealing the results of that injunction. It was a courtroom in Richmond, Virginia, I believe, where 3 judges listen to both sides make arguments. And this was the first hearing where like audio was made public. So like on YouTube, you could go listen to the full, like it was a little less than an hour long hearing. And so listening to it firsthand was interesting because, and I'm no legal expert, none of us are. I understand that it's common for judges to ask critical questions of both parties, but listening to this 45-minute hearing, they were heavily questioning the 2311 front row attorney, Jeffrey Kessler. And at one point, I think two of the judges used the phrase, "It sounds like the teams are trying to have their cake and eat it too." In other words, they questioned why the release language in the charter agreement was ever deemed illegal. And basically they said, hey, if you wanted to sue NASCAR, you shouldn't get to then sign the agreement. And if you wanted to sue NASCAR, you could have raced as a non-chartered entry. Teams do that. That seemed to be the angle the judges were leaning when it was all said and done. Obviously, no ruling has come down in the few days since the trial or since the hearing. An official ruling likely may not come for another week or two or several. But that was basically the takeaway that I had. And after reading other people's work, it seems like everyone kind of had the same takeaway. The problem with, and I know I'm rambling, the problem with the injunction that was granted was it was granted really only on the grounds that the "you can't sue us" clause, the release clause, was illegal. That Judge Kenneth Bell basically said, yeah, that's illegal, or there's a high chance that it's illegal, so we're going to grant the injunction. These three judges were like, that's not illegal. That's never been illegal. And that seemed to be the sticking point. So we'll see how they ultimately decide. Maybe the team's attorney was able to plead his case well enough that they will let the injunction stand. The injunction is only through this season. You know, it doesn't go until 2026. It's meant to go through 2025 because the overall trial date is set for December. So this should theoretically be done. Whole thing should be done by the start of the 2026 season. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But obviously, none of us are legal experts. But I think everything I've seen, everyone kind of took note of the judges questioning Kessler. So where this goes then would be if the judges overturn the injunction, then suddenly, boom, Wallace, Reddick, Gilliland, Zane, no charters. They will now be non-chartered teams the rest of this season. And I believe the charters would go back to NASCAR essentially, at least for the time being. And so like, you know, in the short term, what does that change? I mean, it puts financial strain on the team owners for the rest of this season. Suddenly you're not getting the charter payouts. That's tough. They have contracts with their drivers and sponsors that say we're going to have a charter. So how does that affect their business? There's questions.
Is there any, I believe it's only if they don't qualify for the race, then they wouldn't, which is not probably going to be too much of a problem outside of like maybe Chicago and Daytona. Like there's no rule though with the playoffs that you have to be a chartered entry, right?
No, you just have to attempt every race.
Yeah. Well, I'm just wondering if you miss the race qualifying wise, then.
No, I think if you attempt to qualify, you're good.
Okay.
At least that's the way I think I've understood it in the past.
The big problem will be the money awarded because chartered entries get so much more money. And then, you know, so that would basically mean those 30 chartered teams would get like so much more of an advantage heading into 2026, even that it would set those teams back no matter what. Like that at that point, the cost part especially is actually a huge deal to talk about.
Yeah, it's. I think even more than that, it's the contracts with sponsors and whatnot. And again, it may not impact this season. Like it may not be that big a deal because we're already halfway or almost halfway through this season. But so like, for example, Tyler Reddick has in his contract, if you don't have a charter for me, I can walk. But is he going to walk right now when he's sixth in points and has a chance to win every? No, I imagine he's not going to walk this season. But you know, sponsors, it's just there are going to be more questions that the teams will try to have to answer with their sponsors and with their drivers going into next year. And it just puts some more pressure back on the teams. And I think we'll maybe we'll bring them to the negotiating table first, as opposed to the other way around. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, we obviously don't know what's going to happen. It's just, it's tricky. I thought the point that, I'll be honest, the point the judges made about having your cake and eating it too made 100% sense to me. Where I think, in my non-professional opinion, where I think, and maybe it was irrelevant in this case, but where I think the teams failed to make a strong argument when they could have, was that, hey, if you overturn this injunction, our drivers and sponsors may immediately leave, and that could be seen as irreparable harm. Thus, the injunction should stand. I don't think they made that point as strong as they could have. I don't know that it would have mattered, but anyway, we'll see what happens.
I swear, man, NASCOURT. I am tempted. I'm really tempted. I know that Jet, and by the way, congrats to Jet who designed all of the graphics and stuff. I believe he has a 10-week job out in Charlotte with NASCAR.
It's an internship, I think is what it is he's doing.
Yeah. Congrats to him. But I was tempted this week to be like, hey, Jet, do you know if you could like whip up real quick, just like a NASCOURT graphic or something like that? Like I was tempted. If it becomes a weekly thing, we're gonna start doing more of that. I might just say screw it when we do that. But this whole part of it too, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's like us diehards, of course, we're keeping track of it, but it's just at this point, the fatigue for fans has set in completely with this, where people are just like, can we just kind of just get this over with already?
I think it's gotten to a point where nobody knows exactly. Like even I did a horrible job explaining everything just now. It was not efficient or
I wouldn't
cohesive.
have done any better.
Frankly, yeah, it's hard to explain because it's become so detailed, and I think fans just want to know the result at this point, and then they'll put the pieces together from there.
Yeah. Well, that was our little bit of NASCOURT and also some headlines to talk about. You guys, you want to have some fun?
I love fun.
Yeah, let's watch the.
I mean, yes.
let's wash the palate out a little bit.
Fun. We're having fun.
All right, let's get on into it. Let's start with the first one, I believe, which is our prediction segment.
I got some good ones this week.
I got a few good ones too. So starting out, of course, each host will make 2 NASCAR motorsports or show-related predictions, which are kept track of every week in our accountability session or segment, whichever you want to call it. We will keep those predictions relatively concise, within a few years. We'll be the judges of that. Me, not good. I said the pass for the win would be in the last 10 laps of both races. It was not.
Dang.
It was for the first one until, the DQ wouldn't have mattered anyway with it. It wouldn't have mattered. And then I guess the last lap, Kyle Larson slowed down. He did not have a flat tire. At least from what Dale Jr. and Denny Hamlin both were saying. He just was worried he did and slowed down. Also, both Kansas spring race winners would be repeat 2025 winners in their series. Well, Kyle Larson was, so yay. Eric said Cory Heim would finish higher than Riley Herbst in the Cup race. Woo! Dunk, Shaquille O'Neal style.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny said the Kansas City Chiefs would be referenced on Sunday's broadcast. Boyer brought him up a bit. Same with the pre-race show. Whichever you want to count, it counts either way.
Hey, I needed a layup after taking a chance on that other one.
Yeah. You also said all 4 23-11 drivers would lead a lap, and that didn't work. So I'm leading 34.62% over Eric at 30.
Coming back down to earth.
Yeah, reverting back to the mean. Danny at 27.59. All time, I'm still up there, 40.68. Eric at 31.43, and Danny at 30.22.
Honestly, I'm happy if I just keep that all time in the 30% range.
I have a feeling mine will get in the 30% range soon. So I'm going to start out with this. There will be no tracks on the 2026 Cup schedule that haven't already hosted. No, none at all. But there will be no tracks on the 2026 Cup schedule that haven't already hosted a Cup race. So they can add tracks that aren't on it this year, but they will have hosted a Cup race at some point, whether that's Road America, Kentucky, Chicagoland's been in the rumor mill.
Rockingham gets a Cup date.
Rockingham.
Sure.
We might get new tracks, but they will have had hosted a Cup race before this. No actual new tracks in 2026.
Okay. We need that Montreal deal to finally happen. That'd be great.
I don't. That's saying
it's probably not going to.
So. You're up, by the way.
Oh, we've raved about these two in this episode already, so I'm gonna keep at it. We'll start with Cory Heim. He's up to 492 laps led on the season. His career high in the trucks is 682. I think he will lead 1,000 laps in trucks this year.
Ooh.
Yeah. Remember when we did the over/under of wins, and I was like 8.
Yeah,
and
I think he's
all
about
of us
on
were
track for like 8 right now.
Yeah,
8 and a
3
half,
so far.
Yeah, he's right around there.
Mine had a good conversation last week. I actually ran into Kevin Berry at the boat ramp on Old Hickory Lake. That is the father of Josh Berry. Got to chat with him for a little bit. And so I'm going to keep this one Josh Berry related. Josh Berry being locked into the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro Speedway, I'm going to say that he will get a top 5 in the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro this weekend.
It's a good prediction for sure.
I am going to put this one out there. I think there will be 5 or less cautions in the All-Star race, including the promoter's yellow. I think it's going to be a generally pretty clean race. We're going to have what? How many guaranteed cautions do we have again?
Potentially 2.
I don't think we have 3 cautions for incident.
Yeah, you're
personally.
probably right. My final prediction. So I talked about this on my show this week as well, but Kyle Larson last year, his longest winless streak was 8 races. That was the most races he went in a row without a win, only 8. So far this year, his longest winless streak is 5. It was the first 5 races of the season. I believe his longest winless streak this year will be 7 or less points races.
Ratings for Prime's first race of the Coke 600 will be higher than FS1's last race this season, the All-Star race at Wilkesboro.
I mean, if you listen to the online discourse, there's so many NASCAR fans that think, man, there's not going to even be 1 million viewers. It'll be less than the CW Charlotte race.
I think we're going to be real surprised at how many will actually still tune into the race. And being different, the first time it's not on a traditional cable style, people are going to be interested.
I think there's an outside chance, depending on other factors, that it's higher than people expect. Like I think it's not. I mean, remember, folks, there are more than double the amount of people in America with Amazon Prime subscriptions than cable subscriptions. So, I mean, I know they're not used to tuning there for NASCAR, and it's going to take some time to build that repetition. But depending on how they market it, I'm just saying the opportunity is there for a big number for the first Amazon race.
Man, I just looked up. I have to admit, while I'm not the biggest AI fan, I do like when like Google brings up the actual answer you want when you ask the question. And
the Google AI overview, that's actually pretty solid for the most part.
It's actually really good. And they put, as of early 2025, Amazon Prime has over 220 million subscribers worldwide. In the US alone, there's approximately 180 million users, which represents a significant portion of U.S. internet users, with 81% of those aged 18 to 34.
Now, of that number, I do wonder how many actually use the Prime Video features. Most, I would assume, have it for the shopping purposes.
That's probably true, yes. But it's something to check with your family members, your friends, and see. Someone's probably got a Prime subscription, even if they ain't watching TV with it.
Well, now I want to see how many have basic network television in the United States.
I'll bet it's the same number. Maybe less.
That can't be correct. There's no way it's 18 million.
Oh no, that's
according to Nielsen. Bullshit.
How many people watch the Super Bowl?
I guess we're all just sharing accounts. You know, Netflix don't listen. How about this? How about cable? We can look at how many use.
It's like
cable.
60. It's like 60 million. It's like a third.
68.7. Holy son of a bitch.
So that's all I'm saying.
You want to hear something crazy?
Yes.
When NASCAR signed their last deal, there were 90 million NBCSN users and like 95 million FS1 users. Now there are 68.7 million on cable, and it's decreasing at a rapid rate. I'm actually I'm looking at the projections, and it is insane how many people. Traditional network television is said that by 2028, if you combine the traditional network television and cable, by 2028, there will only be about 62.5 million users for television in general in the United States.
Changing times.
It's crazy, man. I don't know if that like counts like YouTube TV and Hulu and all that. That probably, if that's not the case, it doesn't. But long-winded way of saying Prime probably is not the death sentence many think it is. If the NFL is banking on Prime business-wise, they know what they're doing. Just saying. Well, that was fun. Let's have a little more fun, guys.
If
And
you
when
insist.
I say a lot of fun, because I think this is a lot of people's favorite segment nowadays, the random driver of the week. Let's get to it, guys.
Bye, chat. I'm leaving you. Can you guys see the hearts I'm like spamming in the chat right now?
I think they pop up, especially like you're on your phone.
I'm
gonna click the 100 a bunch of times. Here you go. I'm clicking 100.
Yep. Oh, I see them. They're showing up for me. Okay. Well,
okay.
Now I'm turning the chat off. With that being said,
all right,
get out of here.
So there are 28 clues, by the way, this week. So there's a lot more clues. You can take your time if you need to. Take notes, whatever.
Davey Allison. It's my first guess.
28. That's a hint.
No, okay, just kidding. Not an actual guess. Watch it be Davey Allison. That wasn't a guess, Jarrett.
I know. I'm just messing with you. All right. So the last 5 that we look at, Eric got last week's correct with Jimmy Means.
Oh, I needed that. I got so lucky.
As well as Sheldon Creed a couple weeks ago. And in the last 5, Danny has gotten Regan Smith, Rob Moroso, and Cuckoo Marlin, meaning that we have gotten now to the all-time record between them being Danny at 22, Eric at 21. There's never been a lead bigger than 2 between these two.
Crazy.
All right, let's get to it. This random driver stood at 6'5" and weighed 270 pounds. He's a big driver. Big boy.
Big
270.
boy.
Ooh.
It's a big boy.
Like that's like Eric if he was jacked or fat, whatever.
I'm a big man, Sponge. A big man. This random driver is an Iowa native.
Oh, so he's got that Iowa farmer strength.
Corn-fed, man. I combined 2 jokes from 2 people I know for that one, by the way. If they're watching or listening, they know who they are. This random driver was an avid fisherman outside of racing.
I should know this.
Actually owned a fish food restaurant, like fish as food for people.
Seafood restaurant. Yes.
This random driver's first start resulted in a flip and a broken arm.
Whew. Welcome to racing, buddy. Damn.
This random driver was known as a journeyman driver for hire.
Oh.
This random driver's career started by racing motorcycles.
I need to get some years. I need to get like an era. I need one of these clues to give us.
This random driver was once sponsored by Pepsi.
Okay, that kind of helps a little.
Yeah. This random driver also had a career average finish in Cup of 15.6.
Oh,
that's not terrible.
I'm gonna throw out a guess.
Yeah, go for
because
it.
I think I always forget which was which. I'm gonna go. We might have done this guy, Buddy Baker. Damn it! I think
Incorrect.
He was really tall, and I'm just kind of going back to that. I just wanted to get that guess off my chest.
This random driver had 303 career Cup starts. The career high average finish in points for this random driver in Cup was 10th.
Has the chat gotten it by now? Probably, maybe.
A lot of them have.
Damn.
Wait. Say that again. Career high average finish?
No, career high in Cup points was 10th.
Oh, I heard it. I have some average finish.
The average finish was 15.6 in Cup. This random driver is a Daytona 500 champion.
Oh.
This random driver actually won the Daytona 500, coasting out of fuel across the line.
Flair for the dramatic, I guess. Flipping and breaking his arm, fuel mileage win.
This random driver had 17 cents to his name before winning the Daytona 500. Actually came to the track looking for a ride. By the way, we've never tweeted about this random driver either. So,
oh no, shoot!
And we're halfway through the clues.
That doesn't help me because the one weird Daytona 500 name that's coming up to me, I would have definitely tweeted about it at some point.
This random driver was described as, quote, a really big kid by Richard Petty when it came to personality.
Okay, that's another kind of dating them a little bit, although I guess Petty's still, he could have said that yesterday. So,
yeah.
This random driver's first name is Dwayne.
The Rock?
Oh my gosh.
He is pretty tall. Final answer.
I'm not even going to go even with the normal buzzer on that one. This random driver made a cameo in the Elvis Presley movie Speedway.
I've never seen that one.
Can't say I've even heard of that one. Sounds like a remarkable piece of fiction up there with Days of Thunder.
The manufacturers that this random driver raced in: Chevys, Fords, Dodges, Pontiacs, Oldsmobiles, Mercurys, and Plymouths.
Okay, let's give me some dates now. It's dating them a little bit.
If you need to take notes, take them now because I got numbers for you.
I don't even have a pen, so I'm flying blind here.
All right. This random driver raced the numbers 0, 5, 8, 10, 12, 15, 16, 19, 20, 21, 26, 30, 32, 35, 36, 37, 42A, 44, 45, 47, 48, 51, 53, 55, 58, 59, 63, 68.
You weren't kidding about journeyman driver.
54, 75, 76, 79, 80, 86, 88, 89, 90, 93, 96, 98, 99, 155, 188, and 431. So, I don't know how many numbers those were, but I'm sure that number is.
I know I didn't even get them all wrote down. There's so many.
Well, I don't know how many numbers there were, but I have a feeling it adds up probably to a number that was somehow included in there. This random driver won 5 career Cup races, including a Daytona 500. This random driver actually saved fellow driver Marvin Panch from a fiery Maserati crash at Daytona and filled in for Panch with the Wood brothers to win the Daytona 500.
Oh. It's not David Pearson. He's not from Iowa.
You got
he had way more than 5 wins.
Yeah. He had 105 wins.
You got 7 clues left.
21. Who had a driven? This can't be right, but you mentioned fire, so I'm going to throw out Fireball Roberts.
Well, Eric.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that story goes, but I figured I'd take a shot.
One guess left.
I don't know anything about this one.
Yeah, man, I'm lost. I feel bad because he said Daytona 500 winner. I don't know every Daytona 500 winner by memory. So this one's
I mean,
clearly
there's been how many? Who's going to know them all?
60 plus. Some people do. Someone in the chat definitely does.
Yeah, I'm sure the chat's already figured this guy out a long time ago. But then
Yeah.
again, they can also Google a Midway, and we can't.
This random driver never ran a full Cup season.
Oh,
So truly a journeyman.
yeah.
We'll get a few morbid facts in the middle of this here. This random driver had a crash at North Wilkesboro where a tire detached from the car, went over the catch fence, and killed a fan.
Oh, gosh. Not good.
This random driver also passed away in a crash at Talladega. Nothing?
Nope.
This random driver started stock car racing in 1955.
That adds up.
That checks out.
This random driver is actually, or was, I should say, a veteran of the Korean War in the Air Force.
Yeah, that checks out.
2 facts remaining. This random driver was inducted into the International Motorsports Hall of Fame. Nothing. This
Yes,
random driver was named to the 50 greatest drivers of NASCAR history list in 1998.
Who is completely slipping my mind?
Was that the last clue?
That was the last clue.
Oh. You said his name was, wait, hold on. You said his name was Dwayne?
First name was Dwayne.
Okay, there's no Dwaynes in the top 50, so it's got to be like a nickname.
Went by something else.
Yeah, it's got to be a nickname. He's not Fireball. Okay, not Fireball Roberts.
I just don't know.
I'm trying to think of weird names.
I'm watching the chat lose their
Dick Trickle?
mind.
No, he's from.
I
not
just
from
don't
Iowa.
know, and he definitely didn't get 5 wins. I don't think.
No, yeah, I don't know what his final stats were.
Who got 5 wins?
Neil Bonnet
was huge and died in a crash at Talladega.
Oh man, the Talladega hint is huge.
But Neil died at Daytona, I think.
Yeah, and he also had more than 5 wins, I believe. And was he from Alabama?
Yeah, he wasn't. He wasn't from Iowa.
God, oh geez, this is brutal. I know you're gonna say the name, and we're both gonna fall out of our chairs. This is embarrassing.
Shoot something in the ether, guys.
I've used 2 of my guesses.
You have no more clues.
I hate to do this. I'm gonna concede. I can't get this one.
not guessing anything. Guess the other Baker, but he won more than 5 races too, I believe. Buddy Baker. I said Buddy Buck Baker. I don't know. I'm sorry. Whoever this is rough.
I can state I have no beginning guess at this one.
I'm already gonna.
This is our
just
worst
write
showing
my name
probably
in.
of the year, frankly.
Are you ready?
I'm aye, Captain.
I can't hear you.
Aye.
Tell us the name.
Oh, it's Tiny Lund.
Oh man.
Ah.
And the first clue should have given that away. Oh my god. Oh, that's bad. That was probably our worst showing of the year.
Tiny Lund. And I feel like there was one day back weeks ago I was like so caught in the name Tiny Lund that I didn't even think about him for this one.
So that's only the 4th time I've ever stumped the panel.
You stumped us 4 times?
Yeah,
I remember
3
one
times
other
last
one.
year.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
early on, I think I got a few.
Jarrett's got to get a win every now and again.
Sometimes the dealer has to win.
That's a tough one, man. Sorry, chat. We let y'all down. I'm sure they were screaming at us.
I mean, I had no earthly clue.
I can't say I'm very familiar with Tiny Lund's career. But that first hint, now in hindsight, that first hint was a huge hint.
It was like
no pun intended.
I knew that I was
Man.
either gonna get one of you answering it immediately, or no one was gonna answer it. And as soon as like you guys are like, oh wow, yeah, that sounds tall, I'm like, all right, I got him.
Yeah. Damn, that's a tough one. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, sure enough, he had Tiny Lon's Fish Camp.
Yep. All righty. Well, I guess that leads us to the race this weekend. let's
All-Star Weekend.
Yes, it is the All-Star Weekend. Couple of weekend notes, and then we'll talk about the races and the format. We'll talk about that in a moment. Justin Allgaier will be practicing. I don't know why I wrote proactiving. Will practice and qualify and be the reserve driver of the 5 at Wilkesboro, as well as the 600. I know everyone gasped in shock. Harrison Burton will be in the 51 for Rick Ware Racing as he qualifies in with his Daytona win last year. Kyle Busch will be in the 07 Spire truck, and Sammy Smith will be in the 7 Spire truck. The truck race is the Window World 250 laps, I believe, and I don't think I got the stages put in because, man, I have been off lately. Luckily, I have a tab for that because I like to think ahead on that. 70, and 110, I believe, are the stage lengths this week for the Window World 250, which will be at 1:30 on FS1 and NRN. Cory Heim is the defending winner currently, at least when I looked at the National Weather Service. Now, granted, I looked in the morning. It could have changed, but it was 79, mostly cloudy, 24% chance of rain. The All-Star race on Sunday is 250 laps, correct? Correct, yes. 8 p.m. Eastern time start time. I believe the Open is at 5 p.m. Eastern time. At least that's what's listed online, all on FS1 and MRN. Sunday is going to get to, at least that night, going to get down to around 65 by the end of the race. Partly cloudy, 18% chance of rain with Joey Logano as the defending winner. And there's the All-Star format. So here we go. I don't have a fun graphic or anything for it. Busy day outside of NASCAR. Friday's qualifying will determine the open and heat lineups. The qualifying also include the pit crew challenge. So that'll be a lot of fun to keep track of. Saturday, there will be 2 75-lap heats to set the starting lineup for the All-Star race. And then the open will be on Sunday, 100 laps, top 2 that finish in the race advance, as well as the fan vote winner. The All-Star race being 250 laps, will have a comp yellow at lap 40, and then a promoter's caution somewhere between, was it lap 100 to 220 or 200 to 220?
100 to 220. But if it doesn't happen, if
it doesn't,
if it hasn't been
natural
used,
yellow by lap 200, it's
yes,
not counted.
Something like that. Yeah.
It's just, I'm not a gimmick person. It's the All-Star race. I'll give it a pass.
I'd argue this race isn't gimmicked up enough for the All-Star race. Like I'm with those who say that it needs to feel different than a normal race, and this one doesn't feel that different to me. I mean, it's cool to still be at North Wilkesboro, I guess. I think that charm will last for another year or two, but like the format itself is not. I'm actually looking forward to qualifying with the pit crew challenge more than I am any of the Cup race itself.
I have an interesting. I'm gonna leave it for the video I'm putting out tomorrow, but I have like some ideas about the All-Star race that could like help improve it and make it different. Like one of the big ones is, I think, like the $1 million. Like, so that was put in place in 2003. Do you know what like $1 million, what it like equates to because of inflation and all that?
Around 2 million at this point.
Well, so the 1 million now like has a spending power, or like it's like something like it's almost worth half of what it was when it started.
So you'd have to double the million now to make it mean the
I'd
same.
say make it like 2.5 million. So I was looking at the winner's purses, and obviously NASCAR doesn't put out how much the winner makes, but roughly the Daytona 500, it's around $3 million now. And the Indy 500 is around like 4.5 million around. I'd say put it at like 2.5 to 3 million, like make it basically, other than Daytona and Indy, there's only 2 races that publicly put out or at least put out the winner being more than the All-Star race. Like if you're going to make it that big, let's have it closer to those races like it used to be. back in the day. So yeah, there's all this. I had to like zoom in on it to make sure I was reading it all right on the itinerary. As I almost knocked over my water. Oops. Let's go over to the pick points. Let's see how everybody's been doing with that so far.
Pretty great, I think.
Yeah, you've been doing great. 199 for Eric. I am in second, -11. Woohoo! Chat and Danny are -14, tied. But I believe because the chat has 2 cup wins to Danny's 1, and they are tied at 5 overall. I believe chat gets the tiebreaker, which means that Danny gets the number 1 pick this week, starting not with the All-Star race, but with the Truck Series race. It'll be a Saturday.
I like being basement boy by a technicality because you're not that far off from the lead right now, but you still can take advantage of getting this number 1 pick right now. So give me Kyle Busch in a truck race.
Oh, wow. I like it.
All right. Okay.
Let's see. I'll go back to the chat. I've seen a lot of 34s.
Yeah. No.
No.
And now they're going 11. I think they thought you were going to take Heim.
No, I'm going to take Kyle Busch in a truck no matter what.
I would have taken Heim. I was thinking, man, is my number 1 pick actually going to be there at 3rd because I saw those 34s roll through? All right. It's Heim time for the chat, which means I'll take their 34 pick there. I'll go Lane Riggs.
Beans. Oh, man. I don't like the rest of my picks. Majeski has been unreliable this season. I love Grant Enfinger, but it always feels like he's getting everything out of that truck. And if something goes wrong, I don't know what happens there. Caden Honeycutt is a fun story each week, but like, I don't know. Like, do I trust Nice? No. It feels like the 44 truck, which I guess this week is Connor Jones, blows up every week. Shoot, I guess I'll go Chandler Smith.
Chandler.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so I want to do something interesting with this part so we can open it up to more drivers. Who is your either pick to suck in the All-Star race or miss it altogether?
Ooh. So who's in the Open? I think, I know he's picked up a little bit lately. I think Ty Gibbs misses the Open. I know last year was it last year or 2 years ago? He and McDowell were the show.
Order.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just throwing it out there because I thought we were just kind of.
I didn't know if that was the official pick, but
I was gonna. I mean, we can just like blurt them out if we want. I don't care.
Yeah, I thought we were just kind of adding this as like an impromptu segment. My bad.
Yeah, I guess he worded that as who's your pick to suck or who misses. So you just heard the who misses, I think.
Yeah. Sorry.
Either way, go with either. I'm fine with it, man.
I'll go with my who's going to suck in the All-Star race pick, Austin Dillon.
Where's it? I'm trying to scroll up. Are they all putting 51 for Harrison Burton?
I'm seeing a lot of 51s. That is true. And some Cody. Well, some people said Cody Ware. Well, he is in the Open in the 15.
Yeah, but they're only putting Ware. Like, come on, guys. For a chat that gets on us for layups, Cody Ware and Harrison Burton is not a layup. That is like dunking on a 3-year-old.
Damn.
Come on. Have a little creativity, people. I'll go Ty Gibbs as well. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to think of that team. Yeah, and I feel like this is a race where you're like, especially at the Open, where you're just gonna get wrecked. Like if you're an ass to somebody, they're just gonna take you out. Do you hear what Kyle Busch said on Actions Detrimental about the promoter's yellow and how he's going to prevent it? Because if he has to get any kind of revenge on someone, he's just going to wreck them right before the promoter's yellow can be thrown. He goes, "Don't worry, Marcus, I got your promoter's yellow."
Yeah, that was funny. So is Kyle Busch, is he in the Open? Or is he in the? He's got to be in the Open, right?
I think champions.
Is he a champions provision? I got to double check that. I was looking.
That's the thing. Here's my thing. We should just
Busch
leave
is
it
in.
as,
he must be champion or something.
We should just leave it as winners. The last 3 All-Star race winners, and like I don't know, maybe like 1 or 2 more criteria. Like maybe like or whatever. I think you should not have like 23 drivers.
Remember the year they included Daytona pole winners, so Danica made it.
God.
Remember that? That was so blatant.
Where did I put it?
That was shameless.
Let's see. So I think they should do the last year of winners, right? Where did I put the full part of it here? Yeah. Previous winners of the last year since the All-Star race, previous 3 All-Star winners, if applicable, and then an open winner and a fan vote. This the fact that it's like the All-Star field is 24 of the 36 entries any given year. Like, this is a normal race. There's no degree of difficulty to make this race if you're an all-star. Like, under my criteria, these are the guys who'd be in the open, and some of them already are in, but popular guys or good guys. Gregson, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, SVG, Suarez. Like, those are big names. Like, what is there really at stake in the open other than the guys who are going to run 9th at best are in there if they, manage to have a good, I don't know, man. It's just, they picked SVG, by the way. So I guess, hang the banner. They got a little closer to the front. Who are we going to pick to win the open?
If he doesn't get into trouble, I think other people might get into trouble and get him in a position where he could actually be up here. I'm actually going to go Carson Hocevar to win the open.
Oh, I'd love that. I hope he just makes the middle finger his signature.
I debated between him and 2 other drivers, so I'll be curious to see what you guys go with.
I think chat's taking Bubba.
Yeah, and I'm going to be with the chat too. I'm going to take Bubba to win it.
Yeah, that's a solid one. I was thinking him, but I'll throw another name out there that I see mentioned a lot is Priest. Good short track racer.
I was
right.
I was torn between Bubba and Carson.
All right. Well,
wait. And we talked about who. This isn't for anything, but who do you guys think will win the fan vote? I guess I could see SVJ personally.
I'll go Gregson.
Gregson's a good one.
I feel like Gregson would be a huge upset because I'll be completely honest. I don't feel like anyone talks about him. I feel like he is arguably the least talked about Cup Series driver right now, which is shocking considering how big his personality has been and can be.
We can't show it off when you're running 30th every week.
But that's why I just don't think like SVG has a whole nation potentially. I mean, how many of them are watching and are voting? I don't know. But he does have a whole, it's the same way like the Toronto Raptors used to get like, or no, it was the Blue Jays used to like swamp all-star game voting in baseball years ago because they had all of Canada voting for him.
Remember,
I think SVG makes sense. I think that's a good one.
The chat is saying Hocevar probably wins it. I could say that, but the thing is, I picked him to win the All-Star race. I think, win the All-Star Open. If you win the Open, then that kind of takes you out of the fan vote considerations, right?
Yes,
it goes to the next person. Who
so that's why I don't say him.
Who won it last year? Because Hocevar last year mounted a huge campaign, and I didn't think he won it for some reason.
It just kind of washes for me. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to Google it. It's not as easy to Google as I thought it would be. OUG, yeah.
The whole name. By the way, I was looking. So the
Gregson won it last year. What?
Yep. It was Noah Gregson.
See, I didn't even remember it. I put Gregson. It just was stuck in the back of my mind.
How many? I guess it's the junior motorsports fans. That's the only people voting for him, right? Like, this isn't a slight against Noah. Noah's got a great percent. He's running 30th every week. Nobody talks about him.
So here's why I don't think the whole, because New Zealand, right?
He's from New Zealand. I'll bet Australia is voting for him.
5.223 million is the population of New Zealand. So more, almost, I believe over 1 million more people around there watch the Daytona 500 than live in New Zealand.
So,
that's true.
Noah Gregson has actually won it the last 2 years. He won it in 23 as well.
Yeah.
No, I'm learning so much tonight that Noah Gregson has apparently a much larger fan base than I.
This is actually funny. Before we move on to win picks, here's a thread from NASCAR. The last few fan vote winners. You had Gregson 2 years in a row. Then it was Eric Jones, Matt DiBenedetto, Clint Boyer, Alex Bowman, Chase Elliott in 2018, Chase Elliott in 2017, Chase Elliott in 2016, Danica Patrick 2015, Josh Wise in 2014.
That was the
Danica
Doge one.
Danica Patrick in 13, Bobby Labonte in 2012, Dale Jr. in 2011, Carl Edwards in 2010. That is wild that he had to get the fan vote.
Roush was down in 09. They were down bad.
You know that Dale Jr. Basically said that was one of the most embarrassing moments of his career was he had to rely on the fan vote to get him into the All-Star race. But I think what's more embarrassing is I'm pretty sure they changed, because back in the day it used to be only All-Star winners of the last 10 years. And then once the fan vote thing happened there, they changed the rule to just all previous All-Star winners can get into the race because Junior wasn't good enough to make it in 2011. And it's just, and they do the same things for Danica. It's like, they just change the rules to make sure the popular ones are. And I'm like, where's the stakes? I want popular drivers in the open because there's real stakes to it.
Yeah.
Like I would love to see like 2 or 3 of the popular drivers that they've been slumping. It's like, you got to earn your way in. You haven't been good enough. I would love that.
The best fan vote winner of all time though is 2008 Casey Kane winning the fan vote and winning the All-Star race.
Oh yeah.
And I guess that leads right in. Who do we think is going to win the 2025 All-Star race at North Wilkesboro? Danny, lead us off. Who do you think is going to win that race?
I pivoted, and I hope it doesn't come back to bite me. I had wrote down Denny Hamlin, and I just scratched him out because I want to pick Chase Elliott where he doesn't have to depend on his pit crew.
I love the bringing that back.
and the thing is, if you look at the finishes over the last 2 years we've done this, one was on a different track configuration than the other. We don't have a whole lot to go off of. Joey Logano led 199 darn laps in this race last year. And then Kyle Larson led 2 seasons of the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. You have Joey Logano, 199 laps led. Kyle Larson, 145 laps led. Daniel Suarez, 55 laps led. And Brad Keselowski, 1 lap led. But if you look around the top 10, top 5, there's only a handful of names from the first 2 races that are still there. Chase Elliott is one of them. And I will actually say Chase Elliott gets a solid car and doesn't have to depend on his pit crew this weekend.
Danny, if the chat sweeps this weekend, I'm blaming you because they picked Larson by a landslide.
The chat's getting Heim and Larson. This is diabolical.
Go ahead, but I might look like either the big loser of the day, or I might look like big brain at the end of this weekend.
Here's an interesting point, though. Larson is running the Indy 500 qualifying on the off chance there's
go back.
But I'm just, this isn't the 600. If there's weather delays, if there's a travel interruption, just saying, could be Justin Allgaier in that car.
The travel thing I could see being a factor. And by the way, if Allgaier starts the race, we're counting him as the winner. Chat doesn't get it because Larson jumped in the car at the end. We're going by NASCAR rules on this and NASCAR results. We do the same thing in any other series.
Oh man.
Is this true from Creston? John Larson has won the All-Star race in every odd-numbered year since 2019.
19?
Yeah,
21,
I can believe it. Yeah.
3.
Wow.
5. There's 2 I have to choose from, and I don't know which one I want to choose. Damn it, man. Screw it. I'm going to go for it. Joey Logano.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Was not in my top 4, but that's not an insane pick. Okay, well, I'll take his teammate. I'll go Ryan Blaney.
I'm surprised because the other one in my top 3 was Denny Hamlin, and
he was my 4th pick. I was between him or Blaney. I'm gonna go with Blaney. I like.
So we got Hendrick versus Penske.
The chat is excited for this, but don't forget, guys. Like Larson didn't win it on this new configured track last year. You know,
he's gonna crash himself out or something, and the chat's gonna be like, nothing can stop him now except for a brick wall. Its name is Kyle Larson.
How many times have we seen this where one of us picks Larson thinking that's a solid one, and something drastic happens to him.
Because he always does this where he is up front, that top 3 or 4, and he never can just slow it down for a second and regroup. He gets always attacked. That is like his biggest strength and biggest weakness.
And chat right now, he's either winning or he's crashing. He's on a win per month. Is he going to back it up 2 weeks in a row? I don't think so.
Has it been a month? Nope. Chat, you're playing your cards too early.
If he wins, somebody should make a compilation of all of us saying all this stuff, and then just dun, 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 and we can post it on the Clips channel.
I mean, hey, this is the All-Star race. We got to have fun. So if I wanted to pivot from Hamlin to Chase Elliott, that sure sounds like fun to me.
Sounds like fun. We are having fun. Let's get to the super chat stage break, the final one here. Napa Racing fan says, favorite Fox moment, Kansas, Boyer. How about you, Kyle Busch? Larson, well, Jamie McMurray waiting 5 to 10 seconds after the Brad incident to make the comment. That was actually pretty funny. I do admit that was kind of endearing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it happens. There's so many. We've done that on the show.
You caught it so quick too, and that made it funny. It worked.
Yeah. Andrew Winslow says for the 5, Brad Keselowski is the lull cow of the week. As punishment, he has to pitch NASCAR on a 200 horsepower package to mimic road cars.
True stock car racing.
Let's see. Ooh, this one's for Danny. Alex here says, quick question, Danny. Personality wise, do you think Tony Stewart would be closer to Stone Cold Steve Austin or the more obscure but equally tough Big Van Vader?
Definitely Tony Stewart. And in prime Tony Stewart days, sorry, what am I saying? Definitely Stone Cold Steve Austin. In prime Tony Stewart days, I could see him showing up, glass breaking, slamming down Steve Weiser's beers and giving a middle finger to anyone he chose to. I could see that. I could see Stone Cold Steve Austin being like Tony Stewart.
I'd agree from my limited knowledge. But
Same.
I'd agree. Chris Cahill with the Canadian 5 says, does Priest need to make the playoffs this year to silence the haters? And over the next 5 years, what could his ceiling be? I think a lot of people that are doubters probably, but I'll be honest, I was a doubter and I'm kind of like, damn, like that he's a lot better than I thought he was in Cup. But I think his ceiling could be a top 10 in points guy, even if he doesn't win a lot.
I think his ceiling is like kind of where Chris Buescher was 2 years ago when he won those 3 races and made the round of 8. Like, as long as he's with RFK Racing, and unless something tremendous happens to that team, like I just see mid to deep playoff run is probably their ceiling. But I mean, I was big on Priest this offseason more than most. I thought top 20 in points. I didn't predict he would make the playoffs, but he's in contention. So I don't think he has to make the playoffs for this to be a good season. But if he does, that would certainly silence some of the skeptics.
Ryan for the 5, is Kyle Larson the most prolific driver? It seems like he could win anywhere at any different track. He's even getting better at super speedways.
I mean, yeah, he probably is the best. He even has a dirt win in Cup, right? I mean,
I feel like with Kyle Larson now, and I think it's because he's won so much and people are sick of it. Because remember, like when Kyle Larson would win in like 2021, 2022, we'd get on this show and it would just be like the entire comment section will be a glaze factory. I mean, it was just, they love Kyle
donuts.
Larson. They love Kyle Larson wins. And like, I go live after a Kyle Larson win and I immediately know, like, man, this is going to be one of the post-race shows of all time. That's for sure.
You know, the crazy thing about that 21 season with Kyle Larson, he got, I think, 10 wins that season? Is that what the final number was?
Yes.
Okay. Could have possibly been 11 had it not been for a blown tire at Pocono. And if you recall that season, we actually went 10 or 11 races in a row of a different winner to start the season. So he had that much of a delay before he really started kicking everybody's butt.
Yeah. I mean, it was nuts.
I was talking to my dad about this earlier today, which, by the way, happy birthday, Dad, if you are still watching tonight instead of enjoying your birthday evening.
Happy birthday.
But I was talking to him earlier and I was like, yeah, I've gotten to the point where I kind of appreciate when I see great drivers do great things. Like, I love crazy entertaining moments and finishes and big rally. Like, it's all entertaining. But I'm to the point now, like SVG doing what he did at Chicago 2 years ago was just insane. And when Kyle Larson, just withstands the storm and weathers the storm and they execute, I'm like, I at least was it the most entertaining race this weekend? No, but I appreciate seeing a world-class athlete and team do world-class things. So I didn't have that appreciation during the Jimmy era. And I think some of that as I was younger. And if Larson goes on a Jimmy-like run, which he hasn't done yet, maybe I'll get exhausted of it too. But I at least appreciate seeing great drivers do great things.
I don't know if it was at Nashville or maybe Talladega. I don't know which race it was. It was a year or 2, 3 ago. I don't remember. But I remember a kid, he was, I don't know, 10 or 11, so let's just say it's 2023. If he's 10 or 11, he was born like 2013, 2012, 2011. Right. And he'd ask me, he's like, what was it like watching Jimmy Johnson growing up? And it like blew my mind because like I asked the same question to my grandpa, like, not about growing up, but like, what was it like watching like Dale Earnhardt or Darrell Waltrip or like Richard Petty, I feel like Larson's going to end up being one of those drivers, right? That like I don't know, depending on if his career goes short, if he gets bored and stops racing, like a lot of people keep saying he's gonna, if it was like 10, 15 years from now, I feel like there's gonna be kids who are like, what was it like when Kyle Larson was racing and he did the double and all those things? And so like, don't get me wrong, like I would love to see those crazy moments and stuff all the time, but it with how NASCAR nerfs greatness in this sport right now, and he still is winning more than anyone else. And like you said, or we talked about that, doesn't slump when everybody else does, even his own team. Yeah, like it's impressive. I think that if you're hated for winning so much, you've entered a level that few drivers enter.
Grandpa, what was it like seeing Kyle Larson dominate? I don't know. I hit no on the famous Iceberg bowl.
I liked it better when it was the big 3. At least there were 3 people dominating. Which one of them won the championship? They didn't. Justin here with the 20 says, seeing that Harrison Burton is running the All-Star race is like that scene from Major League 2. New haircut, same dead arm. But instead, it's new season, same field filler. Damn. From the top rope. Brutal. But yeah, he's going to be a field filler in that car. Like, let's be honest. It's a Rick Ware car. West Virginia for the 10 says, I shouldn't spread rumors, but I'm going to do it anyways. Prepare for Buescher to get an L2 or L1 penalty announcement tomorrow. R&D found something NASCAR didn't like. Also, supercar invasion for Chicago. That's right. We'll cover that more once we get towards Chicago this summer.
Yeah, there's 2 supercar drivers expect to run. And yeah, it is weird that there's been no penalty report listed, and it's the end of the day Wednesday. They're usually out by now. So who was the other? Did we ever figure out? It was Buescher and one other. Was it Hocevar? What other car went to the R&D center? Chat can let us know. I want to know who the other guys. But there's rumors out there about Buescher. We'll see if that turns out to be true.
Until he's like winning all the time. Let's see. What did we just do? West Virginia. So Hunter Nixon Fishing for the 20 says, when you watch NASCAR Full Speed and you listen to the actions detrimental this week, does it seem that none of the Joe Gibbs drivers really enjoy racing for him? Seems like a toxic culture over there. That's the vibe I get. I wouldn't say toxic. I'd just say very strict. I mean, this is a very football-like culture in the sense of like I said, rigid, structured. You're not going to go out. You're part of the team, except if your name's Ty Gibbs and you want to try dirt racing, then suddenly it gets lifted. Just saying.
And we've heard, remember Carl's Hall of Fame speech? He was very high on Joe Gibbs, called him like one of the greatest leaders of men, inspirational, all just gushed about him. And that's what I feel like we heard about Coach Gibbs as a football coach as well, as he is extremely motivated. Remember, I think Chase Briscoe talked about before he'd even like while it was still last season, he wasn't even on the team yet. Joe Gibbs would call his wife and like check in on their kids when they were having twins and stuff. Like he is very like, I think the culture is good, but I do think it's strict as far as what you can do outside NASCAR. So they pay you well compared to some other teams, at least historically, but they expect you to be dedicated to Joe Gibbs Racing and Joe Gibbs Racing only.
The culture is actually damn good. Justin Drake here with the 10 says they got $8 billion in TV money. Just to put that 2 to 3 million. Honestly, just make it 4.5 just to really get the excitement pumping. I mean, if they did 5 million, it'd be the highest paying American Racing Series race for a winner. It'd be higher than Indy.
That's the thing. So like if you, the purse for an average race these days is like $10-11 million for the whole purse. But for the All-Star race, as it was reported today, it's like $2.5 million, as Justin is mentioning there. So like most of it's only going to the winner. Bump it up to 5 million and have it all go to the winner. Then it's still, to your point, it's less than half of still a normal race. Like I don't know how, I'm surprised they can't budget for that.
That makes a difference for any team. Like if they're all on the margins, even like the Hendricks, like can you imagine if like a Spire or if a Front Row won this race and it was a $5 million payday and the majority of that lion's share went to the team? That would change your season, like especially in the second half and into the next year. That could change teams' futures. Would have
Richard Childress was pissed over the $2 to $3 million that Austin Dillon was cost by not making the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
So no, that's a good point.
Thank you to my grandma for the 20. Says, love the chat. Good night. Thank you, grandma. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching. I know a lot of others are watching. It's been a good day. The most, pretty good day. Napa Racing fan for the 10 says, favorite Fox moment. Harvick, Bowman Gray is rocking. Fox with crickets cam. Yeah, that was one of the funniest moments of the year. He's like, look at these fans right now. It's absolutely rocking at Bowman Gray. Let's hear it.
Yeah, they had no microphone. When they cut to the kid falling asleep, I still can't believe Artie did it.
Or that one of the Chase Elliott fan, that big drunk dude, he's just like this.
That poor guy.
I'm like, oh, why, dude? There are 20,000 or 17,000 whatever people here, and you chose the two people that make the average person go, yeah, that's what I expect out of a NASCAR race.
Speaking of that, did you know that I once actually fell victim to one of the crowd shots as they were going to commercial?
When was that?
Was that Charlotte?
The 2018 Coke 600. I was spotted in my Nationwide Insurance Alex Bowman t-shirt there watching the Coke 600.
Okay,
Nice.
someone's got to find this clip. If the full race has been reposted to YouTube, someone's got to find this clip.
The other one, by the way, you said was the camera at Coda showing the back of the grandstands with Bell and Busch battling for the lead. And then also Bristol Hot Air, Myers chowing down at Martinsville.
And then he leaves peer pressure into eating the hot dog on camera.
And then he leaves even more of them, cutting Larry off of strategy analysis while showing the big one reel and then cutting the commercials and going side by side with 9 to 5 to go at Dega. Oh my God. It was, when you put it like that, it was way worse than we probably are even giving it credit for.
That was a master class that weekend.
Artie's one last FU. Chris Cahill with the 2 Canadians says, has Larson become the modern day prime Jimmy? Closest to. It's so hard.
Closest to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex Luff says, dang it, I didn't do a King of the Hill joke around the Texas Speedway race.
Speaking of which, did you guys see that they are going to be releasing a new modernized season of King of the Hill very soon?
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh, okay. Cool. Whoa.
Every time we talk about King of the Hill, I have to bring it up. The greatest scene in television cartoon, like adult television cartoon history. So when he can't open the door and he gets his WD-40 out, and then he can't get the WD-40 open, so he gets a smaller one, sprays that one, opens it up, and then uses that one to open the door. That's a good bit.
One of
the greatest jokes I have ever seen. I remember the first time I watched it, I think it was like 14. I'm like thinking about it now. I'm like almost getting in
It's a good gag.
About it.
I'd
Oh,
say
man.
it was a funny King of the Hill thing back in the day. People would do Hank Hill prank calls. They would call like Home Depot or something like that, and they had soundboards of Hank Hill, and like it was like that's what I want, a dang hammer.
Oh, well, it'll be on this price. Whoa! Bobby, go get me some other hammer. Justin Drake for the 20. Not NASCAR related, but in the NHL playoffs, the Toronto Maple Leafs just lost to the Florida Panthers 6-0 tonight, and Toronto is now down 3-2 in a series that led 2-0. Leafs doing what they do best, choke. I will take your word for it because I don't know much about hockey. All I know is I was in a group chat and it blew up, and I realized that old John Player Ramos is in that chat.
I'm not a hockey fan. I've never even been ice skating. I'm from Houston, Texas. Like, go easy on me. But I live in Dallas now. Dallas Stars are up 3-1 in their series. I watched about 5 minutes of their game, I think last night against the Winnipeg Jets. I don't even know where Winnipeg is. I couldn't point to it on a map. I know it's north of the border. Don't know where. But good for the Dallas Stars representing the great state of Texas.
I am just such a casual hockey fan. If the Preds are good, I'm all in. If they're not, they play.
Let's see. One more that's at least at the moment here from Hunter Nixon Fishing. Does Trackhouse change manufacturers? If Dodge comes over, I really think they'd be the best. That'd be their best sort of line of interest. Be the number one team for another manufacturer.
I heard something interesting this week. I was watching a video of some random car YouTuber talking about trucks and stuff like that. And he actually said something that was interesting. He said there's a possibility that Honda and Nissan may eventually merge together. So that would be interesting if those two come together. That maybe they would really push for a combined effort of either one of those brands. Then
It'd be interesting. I do feel like in the next 5 years, if I had to say yes or no, I think yes, Trackhouse does change OEMs in the next 5 years.
They got to do something different because the status quo ain't working. I guess I wouldn't be with ECR anymore.
Winnipeg is above North Dakota. Thank you, Riss. I should probably just pull Google Maps. How many people live there? All right, sorry. Go on, Jared.
Alex left with the 5 here says best King of the Hill scene. Hank finding out he was born in New York. As a native of the Empire State, that makes me laugh louder than ever before.
Yeah, 700,000 people live in Winnipeg. That's a big town up there.
I'm about to bust.
I never forget Dale Earnhardt saying line there. Man, this rope sure is pretty. I noticed it when we were unloading our car.
I just love that. Hey man, I remember that third turn there, man. You were going, oh, wait, man. I gotta watch King of the Hill tonight at this rate, man, because I'm already thinking of all the best moments that I love from that show.
Well, whenever it's time for the kiddo to arrive and you've got a lot of downtime waiting at the hospital, maybe you can binge watch some King of the Hill.
And then once the kid goes to bed, eventually, then I can turn on the other Mike Judge show and put on some Beavis and Butthead too.
But just go ahead and what's the word? Corrupt the kid's mind already.
Start him young. And then in like 15 years they'll be telling stories and you'll suddenly be like, oh, that's when their memory kicked in.
Well, have you ever seen?
You remember?
Maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, whoops! I didn't know you remembered that at 2.
You ever seen the meme where it's like, it's like the moment that you gain sentience when you realize it's like you're 1 year old and it's just like a song playing, and then it gets slower at 2, 3, 4, and then at 5 it goes from this happy-go-lucky song to the wolf in Puss in Boots 2, and it's like, wait a minute, what is the point of life? I'm gonna die one day. Why am I even doing this? What is the point of school?
That is definitely a real thing, and I will notice even though I am nearly 30 years old, there'll be something that just triggers a random memory. It's like, I think I remember that when I was 4 or 5 for some reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think our dreams are what we perceived the world to be when we were 1 year old.
Well,
nonsensical and random and overwhelming.
Well, there was one day I was going around some just not as popular songs from like the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm like, well, I wonder which ones I might like or whatever. And it was, I think it was Prepare Yourself by Mind Bomb. And it started playing and I was like, oh, that sounds familiar. And then I realized it was something my dad played in the car with me when he'd drive me around like during the summer when I was like 3. And I'm like, how do I remember? I remember like specific things about like when I hear this song and stuff. And it's like, it's the same thing. Like you'll hear a song or you see something. You're like, how the hell do I remember that? Like I was 3. Fire. All right.
On that existential note.
Yeah. Existential dread has entered the chat. And we are leaving. Next week, we will be on Danny's channel, planning on the 21st. Unless something changes. Backup plans.
We'll see what happens. Pay attention to social media.
Definitely. Yes. David Land will be guest and should be a lot of fun heading into Indy 500 weekend, Coke 600 weekend. We got Monaco in the morning for the last time. Because next year it's not going to be in the morning of Indy 500 and Coke 600 day, which sucks. But we'll do Indy 500 picks on top of Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. So it's going to be this is the hardest weekend to sweep. But if anyone sweeps this weekend, I feel like it's game over. Like it's absolute game over at that point. Should be a lot of fun. All right, we are going to go. Can't wait to see you next week on Danny's channel. Going to be a lot of fun. And well.
Drivers, start your
3, 2, 1.
green flag.
Started off right, pal.
Right on, come on. Get outside. Rewind.
Unbelievable.
Green flag, we're going. I like the aggressive. We've probably got the green car.
You can go to all those guys up there. They can suck in. What we're about to do is not a good idea.
All good. What is he doing?
You gotta be kidding me.
Half the pack is flying apart.
It's so nice to see at the line.
Oh, half the cars come piling in as well.
Come. Coming light.
Hello. Come back on him.
That was incredible.